Welcome back to the channel. This is Storm and you are watching 11th part of What If Naruto and Hinata Were Kidnapped by Raikage. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Uzumaki Manor, 1130, Konoha Zone 9. Tsunade roared like a lioness before delivering a devastating punch to the face of a berserker, an elite soldier of the Hidden Sound Village. The berserker was thrown back to his casket drop pod with a sickening crunch of bone and a spurt of blood, the force of the blow snapping his neck like a dry twig. The senju clenched her fists. If the situation hadn't been so dire, the Sanin might have been amused that these dead berserkers arrived in their own coffins, ready for their own funerals. For cremation, you only need to perform a simple fire jutsu. But she was already suspicious of her fellow Snake Sanin's plan to use caskets as drop pods, psychological warfare that his elite soldiers were carrying out. The legendary ninja medic was not a censor, but she could tell many seasoned leaf ninjas were unnerved at the sight. Their combat abilities were mediocre, but they made up for it with raw strength and speed, fighting like rabid beasts. Unless you removed their legs or heads, they just kept coming at you, completely unaware of the damage that had already been done to them. She had to admit, as a med nin, that the biology of these things was fascinating. She, on the other hand, didn't have time to play doctor. She needed to concentrate on her people right now. During the fight at Uzumaki Manor, Konoha's temporary headquarters, 5 Leaf Anbu and more than 60 Chunins and Genins were killed, and 100 more were wounded, in exchange for 50 dead berserkers. Dear Lady Hokage! Natsu Hyuga yelled, her Byakugan activated. At least 100 buzzards are on their way. A swarm of Fu's shadow clones guarding the manor fled in the direction of the approaching hostile Combine flyers. The Sky Ninjas used M47 kunai launchers to attack the flying Shadow Clones and the Leaf Ninjas on the ground. 30 Shadow Clones were immediately destroyed, as were several Konoha ninjas, but the Leaf forces retaliated with a large volley of explosive kunai tagged with Uzumaki Havoc seals. At least 60 buzzards exploded in metal, meats and bones. Tsunade grabbed a rock with her right hand and used her super strength to crush it into pebbles before hurling them at the enemy. A dozen Sky Ninjas were pierced by the pebbles and dropped like flies. The surviving buzzards retreated, and the Leaf Ninjas at Uzumaki Manor cheered. This is only their advance force. They will return with a larger force. Everyone remains icy. Tsunade's senju gave the order, and everyone returned to their post. By the minute, the situation was becoming more dangerous and desperate. When the Leaf champion Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze wreaked heavy casualties on their first and second waves and was about to install a new firewall barrier dome, there was hope for the outnumbered Konoha to hold against the Neo Combine. When the enemy aerial fleet arrived and stopped the Fuinjutsu process, the tide turned against the Leaf. Dark Legion. Fu used the advanced mass shadow clone technique to create a clone of himself. The newly created 100 shadow clones didn't waste time waiting for the smoke to clear, instead picking up a small scroll titled Havoc Kunai in front of the Jinchuriki. Hundreds of Havoc Kunai scrolls were piled up in front of Fu. The new shadow swarm launched itself into the fight against the snow cruisers. Fu's shadow swarms focused on the 4 Yuki Zeppelin cruisers, with one swarm engaging a cruiser and the other 547 shadow clones engaging over 1,000 sky buzzards. It was the 15th time teal-haired Jinchuriki had used this jutsu, and she was exhausted. We need to divert the attention of the combined air forces and buy time for our artillery units. Fu considered the Hokage's strategy. She looked at the 4 Snow Zeppelin cruisers, which were emitting smoke from their hulls. Several Fu's shadow clones had attacked the ships with powerful Uzumaki Havoc explosive seals before being destroyed by the snow ships and their buzzard escorts, proving one thing: The Combine ships could be brought down by concentrated firepower, such as the super trebuchets. Konoha's heavy artillery was nearly destroyed. Only 72 super trebuchets and 45 super ballistae remained out of 500. The leaf artillery ninjas were ordered to redeploy to the most fortified Uzumaki Manor. Fu's shadow swarms would confuse the Combine while escorting and protecting her fellow leaf ninjas. The Nanabi Jinchuriki swallowed a food pill and prepared to use this jutsu in 3 minutes. Meanwhile, Fu and the blonde Hokage, along with everyone else, gazed up at the Anchor Vanshin flying fortress. It was still dropping berserkers while moving towards Zone 5, and caskets were raining down on the destroyed Konoha Chunin exam arena like rain. The figure was higher than the one dropped at Uzumaki Manor, and there had to be more than 500 berserkers there. Lord Naruto is still standing. Everyone's eyes widened in horror as Natsu exclaimed, "Our greatest champion is going to fight those monsters all by himself." Tsunade was worried, and she was about to go help her nephew before an earthquake struck, when Santa Yamanaka interrupted her thought. "Hokage, lady. There are a swarm of Neo-Combine ninjas approaching from the Hokage monument. They must number in the thousands, with an ETA of 9 minutes. The earthquake was out of the ordinary. Something large was on the move, and the slug Sanin sensed something very familiar. The report from Natsu Hyuga confirmed her suspicions. I see a lot of huge snakes coming with them, including Manda." Her voice was shaking. When Orochimaru's infamous boss snake summon was mentioned, every leaf ninja paled and shook. Nobody wanted to be those snakes' breakfast. "Shit," the slug exclaimed. Sanin cursed and gritted her teeth at the fact that she couldn't go help Naruto because she needed to protect hundreds of thousands of people. At a Zone 5 shelter, Orochimaru's flying fortress had killed over 1,000 innocent men, women, and children. The legendary ninja medic did not want another tragedy to occur. "Sensei, Kazekage, Shikaku, the 5th Hokage said through clones of Katsuya. At least 10,000 enemies and Orochimaru's snakes will attack us from the monument. Our forces have been stretched too thin, and we must withdraw to the village's back section." The slug Sanin's strategy was on the minds of the 3 high commanders in charge of the village vertical sections. Those 8 sky destroyers accompanying their aircraft carriers had turned into artillery, shelling Konoha's front section and killing a few remaining leaf ninjas there. The skyships, however, were unable to hit the majority of the rear section because it was too close to them. Because of Naruto, the Konoha defenders didn't have to worry about the Combine's artillery outside the wall, which could bombard Konoha Zones 7, 8, and 9, because most of them had been destroyed along with a large number of their soldiers. "Understood," said Hiruzen, Rasa, and Shikaku. They all agreed that their forces were spread too thin and that they needed to focus in order to face the enemy from behind. However, the 4th Kazekage had a question. "What about the people who have taken refuge in the front sections? If we do not defend them, the enemy may capture or kill them." "Kazekage, I appreciate your concern for my villagers, but Konoha shelter entrances are reinforced with Uzumaki deadlock seals. Only a few of our ninjas have the ability to open the gates. If no one is able to open the gates, the deadlock seals expire in 9 months, and each shelter has enough food and supplies." Tsunade elaborated. "So don't be concerned, Kazekage." "I see." "Shikaku," Tsunade said to the village's middle section's high commander. "Except for Battalion J, all units return to Zone 8. I want Jinochi's unit to back Naruto up against Orochimaru's berserkers." "Understood." "Shikaku is gone." "Hiruzen, get out." "Rasa, get out." Tsunade looked around at her fellow ninjas before speaking. "I'm having Manda and his goons for dinner." Senju's skin began to wrinkle, and she cracked her knuckles once more. She looked in the Zone 5 direction, specifically at the demolished Chunin exam arena. She was worried about her nephew, but the boy was a miracle. I'm sure you'll slaughter them all by yourself, Naruto. Zone 5, 11:30, destroyed Konoha Chunin exam arena. The 8 berserkers closest to Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze had been frightened by the latter's quick killing of their comrade. When their leader Jugo and 500 more berserkers arrived on the scene, they quickly regained their courage. The guinea pigs in the Senjutsu experiment all transformed into hideous monsters and laughed maliciously. Wanting to gain fame and fortune, these 500 Orochimaru's elite soldiers charged at Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, who also charged. The blonde Jonin swung his Arashi katana at the berserkers, unleashing Futon Vacuum Destroyer broadsword technique, the jutsu that wiped out Gato's army in Wave Country in a single blow. Ha! He's hitting the air. Berserker number 1 chuckled. What a moron. When the Vacuum Destroyer broadsword's very thin, yet large arc of windblade passed through his mouth and squadmates number 2 and number 3, his words were cut short. The windblade traveled 100 meters and quickly dispatched the remaining 30 enemies. The upper bodies of the killed berserkers fell to the ground, and their blood pumped a meter high. What the hell? Berserkers number 4 and number 5 were startled when their target appeared in front of them. The two felt intense pain in their chests and looked down to find a katana deep within their chests. Seeing Naruto's swords embedded in his comrades' hearts, number 6 took advantage of the situation to attack Naruto. He dashed between his fallen comrades, his piston fists aimed at the blonde's head. The Golden Slayer quickly let go of the Arashi and Thunder God katanas, sidestepped to avoid the powerful punch, and launched a counterpunch. If I can withstand the brat's punch, I'll get him and murder him. Thought number 6 when the incoming fist suddenly had 2 serrated blades in wind chakra. The berserker's thought was proven incorrect. The wind claws pierced his left temple with such force that his left eye popped out. Number 7 and number 8 rushed to Naruto's both sides, their hands transformed into long swords. Number 7 had crossed his sword hands in preparation for a horizontal attack, while number 8 had raised his sword hands high. The Leaf Jonin slammed into number 7 with ferocity, and his wind armor duel mode shredded much of number 7's arms. Number 8 ignored his comrade's scream and struck down from behind on his prize enemy. When the blonde spun around and blocked his attacks with his strong right arm guard, his eyes widened. The Combine soldier felt a sharp pain in his abdomen and noticed his intestines and guts leaking. Naruto stared coldly at the berserker, who was desperately trying to keep his intestines from bursting and dying while deactivating his wind claws. Wow, you dropped them in 9 seconds without using my chakra, Kurama exclaimed. Jugo Yagami, the leader and sanest of the Berserker Corps, was alarmed by Naruto's actions. Encircle him. Jugo gave the order, and 500 berserkers encircled Naruto in a 100-meter radius. Then they attacked Naruto. The whiskered blonde snatched the living number 7 by the throat and threw him at one of the groups. They made no attempt to avoid their comrade and were unaware that number 7 was rigged with a havoc seal. Boom. The blast killed at least a dozen enemies, including number 7. Naruto threw a tri-pronged kunai directly above his head and vanished half a second later. The Berserker army came to a halt as they raised their heads to see their target 400 meters above the ground. Many of them burst out laughing. Haha. When he sees us, the brat must have lost it. He made a huge error by throwing his Hiraishin kunai in the wrong direction. We exaggerate the fool. Many of them were aware that a powerful ninja could make mistakes in a panic, but not their most beloved leader, Lord Orochimaru. Whether he dies or is severely injured, we will rip him apart. Everyone's arms were transformed into blades. 200 meters, 190. 180. As Naruto was free-falling in a stable, belly-to-earth position, he noticed the enemy congregating in the same spot like ants. Every berserker was waiting for him to land on his face so they could tear him apart. 100. Dawn's Hammer. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki summoned his Kurama avatar, whose golden light shone like sunlight on the berserkers below. Their vicious grins faded into shock and horror. It was even too late for those who could use their jet booster jump to avoid the approaching death from above. Kroom. The massive Naruto Kurama bodies slammed into hundreds of berserkers, reducing them to red paste on the ground. Jugo was not in the hammer of Dawn's strike zone. The crash caused a powerful earthquake throughout the village, knocking most people off their feet. No, no, no. As Naruto rolled his Kurama avatar like a steamroller toward him and others, a berserker screamed. More deaths and red pastes were reported in the shattered arena, and over 400 elite sound soldiers were claimed. A dozen berserkers with wings took off as the Kurama avatar stood up, a few of them flying in front of the Kurama avatar's face and firing chakra cannons on their transformed arms. It took several shots to get at Naruto inside the avatar, and the Jinchuriki counterattacked by clapping on them with both hands like annoying mosquitoes. Naruto spotted a nearby snow zeppelin cruiser and attacked a pinned-down Leaf J Spade company holed up in a supermarket. While the Kurama avatar was opening its mouth for its big gun, Naruto unwrapped a special javelin labeled Hiraishin BFG and tagged with a Hiraishin seal. Evasive action. All of the emergency thrusters on the left side should be activated. Fubuki Kakuyoku, Captain and Snow Jonin, directed her operation officer. The emergency thrusters on the left side of the snow ship were activated, pushing it aside to avoid an incoming Bijudama. Like everyone else, Yuki Kunoichi sighed in relief as she wiped the sweat from her brow. She didn't want to risk her life to find out if the chakra absorption devices could absorb the Bijudama. There was a loud cracking noise that pierced the air. Everyone on the bridge looked up and saw a javelin pierced through the window. A tailed beast bomb appeared on the javelin in an instant. The chakra absorption devices were overloaded and destroyed before the ship was obliterated to bits, leaving no survivor, proving that they could not withstand a Bijudama. Fubuki. Mizore Fuyukuma and Nadare Roga yelled at their fellow snow soldier. Even Doto Kazuhana was taken aback. How did Bijudama manage to teleport back to the ship? BFG 9000. Naruto has a grin on his face. Bijudama flash grenade Naruto Uzumaki flying Namikaze's Thunder God technique was 9000 jutsu. Version 2 was a hybrid of Hiraishin and tailed beast ball, with the former teleporting the latter in a devastating surprise attack. The chakra in this Bijudama amounted to 9000 Jonin's chakra in total. This was Naruto's superweapon of mass destruction, which he intended to use against Madara Uchiha, the murderer of his parents. The Kurama avatar opened its mouth again and launched a tailed beast microbomb behind Zone 9 at a squadron of 1 Sky aircraft carriers and their escort destroyers. The 4 Sky aircraft carriers and 8 destroyers had landed behind the Hokage monument, where they had been converted into airfields and artillery batteries. Because half of the K-15 were also in the Hokage monument forest, close to the Neo-Combine forces, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki attacked them with caution, focusing on the ships on the right side. Chome informed Kurama and Naruto that half of the platoon had landed behind the Hokage monument, where the Neo-Combine forces were stationed. Chunin Tenten Matashi, the K-15's third in command, had been rallying the stranded Leaf Raiders. Tenten's squad was far away when the micro Bijudama vaporized a Sky aircraft carrier and 2 destroyers. All 200 other berserkers scattered throughout the village had arrived here at the order of their master Orochimaru to assist their surviving 100 brethren. Naruto, to their surprise and confusion, turned off his avatar, inviting the 300 senjutsu-enhanced warriors to charge at him. "I'm going to have a great time ripping you apart." Many other berserkers agreed. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was their target, and they erected a new and small firewall dome around him. "Do you think this little barrier can protect you, you yellow bastard?" As he pounded the dome with his piston fists, a berserker yelled. "We will not be stopped by the dome. We will destroy it, drag you out, and slowly and painfully kill you." Many people changed their arms into Lotus non-self cannons. There were many explosions in the destroyed arena, and many berserkers were killed or mortally wounded. "Is that a teal-haired babe?" Jugo was aiming his cannon arms at a target in the sky, but there was no single flying shadow clone above them. "Who the hell is bombing us then?" "It's our own artillery that's bombing us." When a berserker saw the bombs, he realized they were from Iwa Mayhem. Someone with a radio warns them to stop. When a berserker with a radio tried it, it was static. "It's not working. What the fuck?" Naruto's electrical jammer Chaos Fuinjutsu sealed and disabled all electricals in the arena, including his own radio. The berserkers were being heavily bombarded by the 6 sky destroyers, who were seeking vengeance on Naruto for the destruction of their 3 ships. Several rounds struck the newly constructed small firewall dome, and the barrier shimmered and flickered with bright orange. Fearing that the flying fortress would attack him again with that powerful beam cannon, Naruto began to burrow deep and move underground by clawing the earth. Clever kid, Kurama had observed the entire scene through the eyes of his host. "You let the enemy commit fratricide and kill each other to save yourself the trouble. Not to mention that you also help the besieged leaf ninjas. You never cease to astonish me." While chaos and panic reigned supreme, 9 pairs of chakra arms emerged from the ground and forcefully dragged 9 berserkers into the underground. Blood sprang from the holes a split second later. Shit. When Jugo noticed a pair of chakra arms 1 second before grabbing his legs, he immediately activated his jet booster jump to flee. While dodging sky shelling in the air, the Yagami witnessed his soldiers being pulled into the underground and slaughtered 9 by 9. "Hold the fire. Hold on to your fucking fire." Shino yelled at the captains of the sky destroyers. "You dummies are attacking our friends." The bombardment from the sky was immediately halted. The bombing only lasted 1 minute, but Sky or Naruto killed over 200 berserkers. Zone 4 Anchor Vanshin, directly above the Uchiha compound. Orochimaru, the supreme commander of the Neo Combine, had been watching his elite berserker corps fight the boy in the observation chamber since the Hammer of Dawn strike. Many television networks aired the battle in which Naruto defeated his own clansmen and sealed them, including his mother. Orochimaru had witnessed it, and he had smirked the entire time. The final scene, the special gift he left to the orphan boy, was his favorite part. He was laughing at the boy's tears. The snake Sanin stood by and watched his berserkers be slaughtered, his face expressionless. He was unconcerned about the loss of his formidable soldiers. To him, these berserkers were nothing more than rabid animals and powerful cannon fodder designed to cause confusion and panic among enemy ranks. Even if the enemy forces defeated the majority of berserkers, their own forces would be so depleted and sapped of energy that they would be unable to organize a strong defense once the rest of his army arrived. When this village falls, which it will, there will be plenty of subjects for me to use to create new berserkers as long as Jugo lives. Orochimaru tapped his fingers on his command desk, thinking. Of course, He had to be careful not to reveal his true intentions on this friendly fire, which he would later use as political leverage against Shino and his Skyforce. He turned to face his bodyguard, Kaguya. It's clear that Jugo can't beat the Namikaze, so Kimimaro, I want you to go down and extract Jugo. Kimimaro respectfully bowed. As you wish, my lord. Take as many men as you need, but do not engage the Golden Slayer under any circumstances. Jugo's rescue is a top priority at any cost. Jugo was required by the Snake Sanin to continue his research on Senjutsu and other topics. Hi. The final Kaguya bowed once more and dashed off to save his friend. However, as he approached the door, Orochimaru's voice interrupted him, causing him to pause. And if Jugo isn't returned to me alive, Kimimaro, don't bother coming back. Sanin, the snake, said menacingly. After absorbing his master's words, the Kaguya forced his body to move again, and after exiting the observation room, he began to run. Orochimaru then sat back in his command chair to assess the situation. The boy is clearly more powerful than Itachi Uchiha. He even survived a direct hit from a Yamato cannon. That would not have been possible for me. The snake-like eyes of Orochimaru narrowed slightly as he smiled wickedly. He is the ideal cross between the Uzumaki, Senju, and Namikaze clans. He has all of their strengths and none of their weaknesses. The Sanin began to consider an idea. If I breed Uchihas with the boy, the bloodline that results will be more powerful than any other bloodline in existence. Such children will undoubtedly be extremely powerful, and they will be the ultimate perfect bodies for me. The idea of uniting the bloodlines descended from Indra Otsutsuki and Asura Otsutsuki, who were descended from Hagoromo Otsutsuki, was enticing. I'd be even closer to the Sage of Six Paths. Godhood and immortality were literally at his fingertips, and he was more determined than ever to have a dead Naruto. He also considered Izumi Uchiha and Makoto Uchiha, the latter of whom was 36 years old but could still bear children for him. It's time to tempt the boy. You two, Sakin and Kitamura, bring that Uzumaki girl to the arena. He summoned his remaining 3 Sound 4 bodyguards. You get the camera crew to the arena, Jirobo. His bodyguards bowed and then went about their business, and the Snake Sanin walked to the Anchor Vanshin arena. Everything is nearly in place. Just a little longer, and they'll be all mine. There were still about 100 berserkers alive, but they were severely battered and exhausted. Even with the entire corps present, we couldn't harm the brat, and we suffered heavy casualties. Lord Orochimaru will be enraged. The prospect of their supreme commander's wrath and punishment lowered their morale. Naruto appeared from the ground, holding a spiral-shaped Uzumaki version Fuma Shuriken in his right hand. He launched it at the berserkers. Most blades couldn't cut through the monstrous thick skin of a berserker, and those that could were chipped or damaged. The Uzumaki blades, on the other hand, were a different story, and their shurikens, including these massive ones, were serrated. Naruto's razor-sharp wind chakra increased the lethality of the Uzumaki's super shuriken. After the first one, the blonde threw a second one with his left hand, slicing more than 30 berserkers. 70 more to go, Naruto said, turning to face Jugo. That guy has to be their alpha. Orochimaru's pet. Shadow Legions. He can transform more things and has more chakra than the others. Naruto summoned 200 shadow clones and gave them the order, kill them all. Despite the oddity, Jugo Yagami let out a terrible roar before charging at Naruto with all of his nature chakra at full strength. Even a Jonin or a Kage would prefer to fight an enraged and mentally unstable Jugo Yagami over a furious Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The blonde had seen the Yagami's speed with jet booster jump, and he noted that it could rival his mother's and the fourth Raikage's, which he was fine with. With Piston Fist Style 1, the Berserker charged at the Leaf Jonin, hoping to shatter every bone in the damned yellow bastard. In a feigned surprise knee-jerk reaction, the Leaf Jonin leapt into the air. Jugo chased him up in the air, unaware that it was a trap. The Golden Slayer drew the Arashi katana from his back and slashed vertically with a powerful vacuum destroyer broadsword. "That's almost there." Jugo made a remark as he narrowly avoided it with his jet booster. The vacuum slice carved a deep crater in the ground and killed several berserkers. Both charged at each other as they landed. "I've finally got you." As his destroying axe fist clashed with Naruto's Arashi katana, Jugo smiled. "Your toy sword will break in seconds, Blondie." Naruto was pushed back 9 centimeters, but he pushed back even harder, gripping his sword with both hands against the enemy's enlarged axe fist. He wore nothing but cold blue eyes and determination. The duo stood motionless and uninterested in the battle between the other berserkers in the Shadow Legions. Every second, the number of berserkers decreased by 1. When the last and 69th berserker died, and the victorious Shadow Legions quickly left the area, the standoff between the Uzumaki and the Yagami began to change. "What?" Jugo's eyes widened in horror as his powerful axe arm withered. Naruto's shield seals on his armor had been activated, cancelling Jugo's Senjutsu chakra. The Uzumaki's Arashi blade slashed through Yagami's arm, causing the latter to scream in agony at the loss of his right arm. Jugo slashed Naruto with his clawed left hand before using the Arashi katana to sever the Yagami's index and middle fingertips. When Yagami screamed in pain again and jumped backward to flee, Naruto pursued him by throwing a kunai at him. The berserker easily avoided it, but he had no idea it was another lethal trap. Vroom. 4 javelins approached him and pinned his limbs to the wall. Jugo screamed, and he was having a terrible day. "Stay around," Naruto advised. "Burn those dead freaks, legions. They could be a type of plague." The 2 returning Shadow Legions started burning the dead berserkers with fire jutsu or hellfire seals. "I love the smell of crispy monsters in the morning," the Golden Slayer said casually as he looked at the burning berserkers with his katana on his shoulder. Underneath, he was preventing a certain Warhawk from gaining access to the Senjutsu enhancement materials. Shadow Clone Black had infiltrated the root headquarters and reported to Kurama that Danzo and that pompous Fire Crown Prince had holed up in a bunker with their allies, hiding and protecting themselves while the rest of the village was fighting for their lives and village. Black now reported that Danzo Shimura was cursing his friends and angrily damaging the floor with his cane. Naruto's face lit up with a smile. "It smells like triumph." 1200, Konoha Chunin Exam Arena destroyed. Thuck. Jugo cursed his problems. He was going to use cellular regeneration absorption on his dead comrades once he got out of those damned javelins, but that yellow bastard burned all of the bodies in the arena. He was still struggling, painfully, to get out of his situation. He heard quick footsteps and saw a Golden Slayer approaching with his katana drawn. "You son of a b***tch. In defiance, the Yagami swore at the Uzumaki, and then the temperature dropped a few degrees and a massive killing washed over him. When he looked into Naruto's eyes, he shuddered. Naruto had no choice but to seal his mother's soul less than an hour ago, and the pain was still very, very fresh. He snapped when the berserker called him a sob. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze charged at the pinned berserker with the intent of chopping off his head. "My name is Karen Uzumaki. Lord Naruto Uzumaki, I am a member of your clan. Please save me." Everyone in the village could hear the girl's desperate and shaking voice as she spoke through the PA system on Anchor Vanshin. Naruto skidded to a halt and turned to face Anchor Vanshin in disbelief, his eyes widened. He removed the Uzumaki Reclaimer ruby necklace, which was used to locate the scattered Uzumaki people. To his surprise, it was indeed brightly glowing and burning hot. A two-way communication console stake landed in front of the blonde Uzumaki, who quickly turned off his chaos seals. Karen's cries for help had reached the Hokage Tower's underground operations center, where Gurren and her team could hear them clearly. It was the cue. Activate the village television broadcast system. Gurren gave the order. I want all of those tree huggers to see it and be terrified of Lord Orochimaru. All static televisions in Konoha, including those in the shelters, came to life in a split second. The screen was divided in half, with the right half displaying Naruto, the Leaf's champion. Everyone gasped when they saw what was on the left half of the screen. A naked red-haired bespectacled girl was coiled by a giant python, though the snake covered her private parts. The screen showed the girl trembling while reading a script, tears streaming down her face. I'm Karen Uzumaki, the daughter of Whirlpool Fall survivor Nori Uzumaki. The Neo Combine and their supreme commander, Lord Orochimaru, have captured me. Lord Naruto, if you can hear this, please surrender. The smiling face of Orochimaru suddenly appeared on the TV screen. Naruto Uzumaki, you can hear your clanswoman pleading for help now. Will you let her die, Kukuku? The snake Sanin asked rhetorically in a sadistic tone, then turned and nodded to his python, which was tasting Karen with its long forked tongue. Ah! The poor child screamed and sobbed. The focus was now on the python, which appeared to be eager to devour her. The majority of those watching the scene were terrified. The blonde Uzumaki proved to be a disciplined ninja as he showed no emotion, except his eyes were becoming extremely murderous, and he tightened his grip on his Arashi katana as he patiently listened to Orochimaru continue his words. You lay down your weapons and surrender to me if you don't want this little girl to become my pet snake's food. Haha. Jugo had finally managed to free himself from the javelins. Taking advantage of Naruto's distraction, he charged at him with a destroying axe fist in his left hand. Before he could blink, the blonde appeared in front of him. Without saying anything, Naruto in Biju mode grabbed the berserker and arm-locked his neck before slapping Yagami on the forehead with a seal. Hellfire Seal. You now have an incendiary bomb on your head. When anyone tampers with it, it goes off, and I have the detonator with me. Naruto gave Orochimaru on the console a murderous look. Now that this crazy leader is my prisoner, we're even. We can do a hostage swap. He took out a brig seal and opened it with his chakra arms before violently tossing Jugo into it. The console displayed Snake Sanin's dissatisfied expression. You're making a huge mistake, brat. You are not in a position to make such a request. Do you believe you can beat me? Orochimaru threatened with his fingers flicked. The python's mouth grew a few centimeters in front of Karen's face. The Uzumaki girl screamed in terror, her eyes wide open. No. Don't eat me, please. Whatever you said, Orochimaru, Naruto said, his left hand clutching a mini Bijudama. This berserker pet of yours will become crisper than Konoha fried chicken if Karen dies. I'll turn your flying palace into a fireworks display. Even if you manage to flee, I will track you down, find you in whatever hole you hide in, and become your worst nightmare. Naruto noticed 4 dragons approaching the destroyed arena, with Kimimaro on board. Would you like me to lay down my weapons? He inquired before unleashing the mini Bijudama on a dragon transport, and the explosion engulfed the other 3. Coming to get them. When you're ready for a prisoner exchange, give me a call. The Uzumaki then cut the console in half to end the conversation. Unfortunately, he didn't notice the snake Sanin's panicked expression when Kimimura's transport broke down. Orochimaru immediately activated his comm after Naruto destroyed the console. What is the status of Kimimaro, Elite Chunin Sasama Fuma? Lord Kimimaro is alive and well, the Sound Elite report. Chunin Kunoichi reported, confident that her master would approve. She was correct. She heard a small sigh of relief. Excellent. Have you also tracked down that brat's Hyuga girlfriend and his 2 Uzumaki girls? My lord, yes. That Hinoka girl is assisting the Hokage at Uzumaki Manor. Hinata Hyuga is in Zone 3 heading to the nearest Leaf Forces, and Tayuya Uzumaki is near Lord Kimimaro. Good, Orochimaru said, his smile sinister. The Golden Slayer was provoked to attack Anchor Vanshin, and everything was going according to plan, despite the minor hiccup of the destruction of Kimimura's dragon. Sky exclusive Jonin Amaru, I want all of the Anchor Vanshin's bays to be extra secure. That boy could kidnap one of the dragons and come here to save his clanswoman. Hi. Unbeknownst to everyone, the snake Sanin used the increased security to conceal a real trap for the blonde Uzumaki and the 2 Uzumaki girls who were still free. According to Kumo's records, the boy was tactically creative and used various approaches to achieve his goals. The Sound Leader was certain that Naruto and Hinoka would return to save Karen, and that they would fail this time, leaving him with a dead Naruto and his DNA materials, as well as 3 young Uzumaki girls. He could create powerful Uzumaki Uchiha hybrids and even more powerful ones with Senju Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha genes if he captured both the Uzumaki and Uchiha clans. What is the current state of the Yamato cannon? He was curious. It will be ready in 44 minutes, said the Sky Kunoichi. Once it's primed and ready, go after the Uzumaki Manor. I want it destroyed, as well as the Leaf Command that resides within it. The Neo Combine Supreme Commander addressed the Fuma Kunoichi once more. Sasama, inform Kimimaro that his objective has changed to capture Tayuya Uzumaki, but he must hold it until I say so. The snake Sanin's expression darkened. And give him the location of the Hyuga girl. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, you're going to die defeated this time, and your testicles will be mine. Uzumaki Manor, 12:30. Wah. Many people were taken aback when Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze appeared at the entrance to the Uzumaki Manor by Hiraishin. Everyone bowed down to him, either out of respect or fear, or both. They had witnessed the battles against Satori and Shingen Hattori, the undead Uzumakis, the Sound Berserker Corps, and the destruction of a skyship squadron, as well as the hostile interaction with the fearsome snake Sanin, through televisions. Elif Chunin wanted to tell the blonde elite Jonin that he had overstepped his authority during the hostage exchange, but after seeing the blonde's murderous eyes, he kept his mouth shut. His survival instinct warned him not to get involved in the Golden Slayer's war. Are you okay, kid? Kurama inquired of his Jinchuriki. The fox was sympathetic because the boy had been through a lot. Naruto's straightforward response was no. Kurama, please issue a command to at least 2 legions to rob those ostensibly dragon transports and inform every legion captain to find out which village this Karen Uzumaki is from. There were 28 Naruto's Shadow Legions scattered throughout the fighting village, totaling 2,801 Shadow clones, including Black. Naruto's Shadow Legion technique was far superior to Fu's. After all, he was the inventor. Naruto's legion was always 100 people strong. As long as a legion captain wasn't destroyed, the captain could use Kurama's assistance to create replacements. It wouldn't be difficult to discover Karen Uzumaki's origins, and Naruto had some questions for her shelter village. The blonde elite Jonin had noticed the bites on Karen's body. She, like Tayuya, had the heel bite bloodline limit. But there were too many bite marks around her, and the blonde Uzumaki had taken a personal interest in making that village pay for all of his clanswoman's abuses. That was good news because he wanted to pick up Hinata Hyuga, who was in Zone 3 with Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and Akamaru. They were on their way to a friendly neighborhood. The bad news was that the Hiraishin seal on her calf had been damaged during the landfall to avoid the Yamato cannon of the Anchor Vanshin. During the cannon attack, the Hyuga's Hiraishin tagged arrows were also lost. Time was of the essence. He needed to save his fellow Uzumaki before the snake ate her. Naruto reflected as he quietly and quickly rearming himself at the Uzumaki armory, picking up scrolls. The future of the Uzumaki clan is in your hands, his mother's final words came back to him. He promised to save Karen. Naruto. Tsunade Senju walked right into the armory. Is Karen a genuine Uzumaki? Hinoka Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and an unmasked Takuma Hyuga arrived at the armory as well, due to the Yamato cannon attack. They were the only K-15 members to arrive in Zone 9 and return to Uzumaki Manor. Naruto's face lit up with a small smile. The Hokage didn't come all the way to chastise him for the prisoner exchange because she didn't care about her fellow Uzumakis. That's why, after fleeing Kumo with Hinata, Hinoka, and Tayuya, he returned to Konoha willingly, knowing that the busty Hokage would look after them in the Leaf Village. Yes, the Reclaimer Ruby confirms she is, and thus that snake bastard on that flying fortress is confirmed. Naruto turned around to see his auntie covered in blood and gore. Tsunade was distracted by Karen's broadcast, which provided Manda with an excellent opportunity to swallow the slug Sanin. Manda's head imploded when the Hokage punched her way out, which proved fatal. The boss snake summon was impregnable on the outside, but it was still flesh and blood on the inside. A small scroll was tossed to his gore-covered auntie by the blonde seal master. When she grabbed the scroll, it instantly activated, and the Sanin glowed brightly for a split second. What exactly is this? Tsunade asked, surprised, as the gores and blood from her body were washed away. She was spotless, as if she had just gotten out of the shower. Yet another Fuinjutsu creation? Aha! Naruto said as he picked up 2 more scrolls without saying anything else. Thank you, young man. We're going to launch Operation Skyfall, and I've assigned the mission of rescuing that Karen girl to you, Elite Jonin Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. With questions on his face, said blonde Jonin turned around to face her. We must eliminate the flying fortress threat as soon as possible. That flying fortress is called Anchor Vanshin and has chakra absorption technology, according to intelligence from captured sky ninjas. Yamato Cannon is the name of that cannon, and it will be ready in about 30 minutes. We have to get it out before it gets us.
This operation includes sky aircraft neutralization and artillery on the Hokage monument. Chunin Tenten has gathered all of the K-15 members who have arrived behind them.
I've tasked her squad with destroying the skyships that are stranded there. Naruto caught the 5th Hokage's eye. I've assigned you not only to save Karen, but also to cut off the head of the snake, both metaphorically and literally, and then to destroy that flying fortress to stop this invasion. You'll need extra hands, and Makoto is on her way. She can summon a hawk to assist you. Yes, Naruto, and I'll accompany you. Hinoka stated. You two aren't up to the task. Let me assist you. Sasuke offered to help. Sakura took a forward step. Me too. We must assist Karen in her rescue. Don't write me off. Takuma Hyuga made the announcement. Naruto smiled as he looked at the four of them. Good to have you on Team Naruto. Please feel free to pick up any scrolls you require here. He then unwrapped a scroll, revealing a javelin. Tsunade received the javelin from him. How far can you throw it, Lady Hokage? 12:45, 3 minutes later. Summoning method. Makoto Uchiha placed her hands on the ground, and a large hawk named Tatsumaru appeared on the lawn of Uzumaki Manor. You take this, Naruto said as he handed Hinoka the Reclaimer ruby necklace. In the event that Karen and Orochimaru are separated, I can still find her even without the ruby. Makoto mounted Tatsumaru, followed by Sasuke, Hinoka, Sakura, and Takuma. Naruto turned to face his team. You are the second in command here, Takuma Hyuga. If Karen and Orochimaru are not in the same location, you will lead the team to rescue Karen and evacuate as soon as possible, regardless of what happened. One of my legions will assist you. I'll take care of that snake and his flying palace myself. Jonin Elite Naruto outlined his strategy. He rested his right hand against Tatsumaru's chest. On Anchor Vanshin, I'll make openings. After I soften up the enemy there and Makoto's hawk brings you closer to the fortress, you can land. Once you've all infiltrated the fortress, I'll remain in the sky to provide surveillance and exfiltration. Team Naruto was told by Jonin Makoto Uchiha. Tsunade, Hokage Senju barked an order while clutching a javelin. Artillery everywhere. On my mark, open fire on that flying fortress. All leaf artillery aimed and fired at Anchor Vanshin until the Hokage shouted, "Mark." 2 seconds later. While hundreds of leaf explosive projectiles were being launched at Anchor Vanshin, the 5th Hokage hurled the javelin into the sky at supersonic speed. As Naruto had said, hiding a leaf among trees, the artillery fires masked the javelin, and an attack from above was the last thing Anchor Vanshin expected. 3 seconds later, Team Naruto, including Makoto and her hawk, vanished. Good luck to you all, Tsunade said as she returned to defend the village's back section against an oncoming swarm of invaders. When they teleported 9 kilometers above the ground, everyone had 2 pre-packed oxygen rebreathe mini-scrolls in their nostrils and had no breathing problems. Team Naruto could see the entire Konoha and its surrounding lands from high above the ground. Everyone, especially the 2 young genin Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno, were astounded by what they saw throughout the Leaf Village: explosions everywhere, many places on fire, and fierce dogfights between Fu's shadow clones and the Sky Buzzards. We must fight hard for our homes, villages, and families. Sasuke and Sakura felt the same way. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze released Makoto's hawk and switched to Biju mode. At terminal velocity, he launched himself downward to Anchor Vanshin, head toward the ground and legs up. When he was 5 kilometers up, he saw 2 lines of people fighting each other. The top line was the Neo Combine, and the bottom line was Konoha. The top line was denser, with more soldiers and massive snakes. He launched a Bijudama and exclaimed, "Tailed Beast Meteors." The Tailed Beast Bomb dispersed into 9 smaller micro Bijudama and struck the Neo Combine third wave, just as he had done with the second wave. The Tailed Beast Meteors killed most of Orochimaru's giant snakes and thousands of Neo Combine ninjas. Another micro Bijudama was fired at 4 kilometers, this time at a snow cruiser. Mizore Fuyukuma's ship was destroyed, and he and his crew vanished. He fired a volley of 9 smaller mini Bijudama at the Yamato cannon from 3 kilometers away. That should destroy or at least disable their cannon, he said, looking at the smokes surrounding the Yamato cannon. 30 seconds later, he fired another volley of 9 mini Bijudama on top of the sky-flying fortress, allowing his team to enter. As he passed through a blasted hole, he crossed his arms in an X shape as a shield. It took 9 floors to slow him down. The Leaf Elite Jonin flipped and landed on one knee on the ground. His boots and knee guards were all equipped with impact absorption seals, and a large spiral-shaped crack appeared on the floor in a radius of 3 meters. He was spotted by a small group of sky ninjas. Before they could raise the alarm, the Combine ninjas were struck with shurikens. After that, the blonde formed a Shadow Legion. "Boys, go raise some hell." He drew out his Uzumaki Tantos. Katanas were not suitable for combat in narrow corridors. "I'm coming for you, Karen." 5 zones. What was Naruto thinking when he said those things to Orochimaru? It's not appropriate to talk down to a Sannin. Neji Hyuga inquired, adding, "Naruto has made things worse." "No, you dummy, it would be worse if Naruto backed down like a wimp." "You are a chunin for fuck's sake. I guess I'll be outranking you soon." Tayuya replied with annoyance. Konoha's morale would plummet if he did. Naruto is fighting fire with fire, as is the Uzumaki way, but he also has a hostage and good leverage to threaten back that snake bastard, the leverage being that he has defeated many powerful foes, including the 4th Raikage, Itachi, Kisame, and Jiraiya. He must demonstrate that he cannot be intimidated or blackmailed, or else he will face more assholes in the future. He needs to send a message that anyone who fucks with him will be fucked in the ass. Orochimaru is going to have the worst day of his life for everything he's done to us Uzumakis, especially Naruto. The two were sprinting toward the Uzumaki Manor. They'd seen the broadcast, and Tayuya was understandably enraged. When Uzumaki unleashed her rage on several mid-level grass ninjas on their way, butchering them only with her flute, the Hyuga was terrified. The Gentle Fist mastermind made a mental note to never offend the Uzumakis. Tayuya and Neji both knew Naruto would launch a rescue mission for Karen Uzumaki, except it has already begun. When they saw Kimimaro standing in their way, they came to a halt. "Tayuya Uzumaki, you can come with me peacefully or violently," Kimimaro said emotionlessly. "Or I'll have to resort to force. Would you like to use me as a bargaining chip against Naruto?" Tayuya inquired as she took her combat stance. "Fuck you, Orochimaru, and your master." 3 zones. Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and his Ninken partner Akamaru carefully navigated the abandoned Zone 3 streets. There were enemy ninjas and samurais everywhere. Konoha forces had abandoned the entire front section to fight the enemy coming from the Hokage monument. Hinata, Shino, Kiba, and Akamaru had all seen the broadcast. The Hyuga knew her love would undoubtedly rescue his clanswoman, and she was aware that the rescue operation had begun. She cursed herself for losing all of her Hiraishin seals in the Yamato cannon attack. "Watch out," Kiba cautioned as he smelled something. "Someone powerful is closing in on us at breakneck speed." Inside his jacket, Akamaru smelled it as well and was terrified by the power this person possessed. Everyone could feel a presence in the air, and a shadow on the ground was growing. The team immediately left the area after being hit with a powerful punch. The ground had been destroyed within a 3-meter radius and dust was everywhere. Hinata, Shino, and Kiba quickly took combat stances, and when their vision was clear, they were astounded by who they saw. The Kumo perpetrator of the Namikaze Hyuga incident, the mastermind who kidnapped Hinata and Naruto in order to breed Byakugan, Chain Release, and Hiraishin. "You return with me," Hinata demanded, and his lightning armor activated. "You are Kumo's." The cursed Naruto was not present, but Orochimaru promised him Naruto's testicle, allowing him to resume his plan on the Uzumaki Hyuga. Without the damned Uzumaki Namikaze, who ruined the Hidden Cloud Village, this Hyuga girl would have been an easy target. Konoha is my home, and I've already returned. Hinata's eyes were filled with hatred as she looked at the Raikage. She noticed the Raikage's scarred face, which rivaled that of their Chunin exam's first proctor, the deceased Ibiki. I see why Naruto said he'd like to play tic-tac-toe with you on your face. I'd like to as well. The Byakugan princess drew her Uzumaki daggers and activated her lightning armor, ready to fight like a maelstrom. You will pay for stealing 10 years of my life with my family. 1300, Root Office, Zone 3. Root and Fire Court officers were listening to radio chatters from both sides in the radio room deep within the underground bunker and relaying the information to their operatives who were still on the surface. Another group of Root and Fire Court officers was examining the war situation in the map room by constantly repositioning two different colored blocks representing the Konoha and combined forces on a model layout of the village. Root ninjas and Fire Court samurais were preparing their own weapons in the Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, which Sai had stolen. The Root operative in the K-15 platoon ostensibly volunteered to look after the platoon's backup Uzumaki Advanced Individual Combat Kit scrolls, but he secretly brought them back to his master using his ink animals. Over 1,000 ninjas and samurais were properly armed and waiting for the green light to carry out their orders in their ready rooms. All of their coordination and effort, however, were not to help their own comrades in the battle that was raging above them at the time. The top-ranking officials were having an impromptu meal in the private conference room. Courtiers from the Fire Court were serving sake or small finger foods to these leaders, while ninja guards stood in the corners and outside the room for security. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki must be tamed. Doing a prisoner exchange is beyond his authority. Only the Hokage or the village council have the authority to do so. He must be tried in court. As he smashed his sake cup on the table, Hideo Hyuga, the High Elder of the Hyuga clan, said in a fake angry tone. The more he discredited the boy, the easier it was for him to gain access to the Uzumaki clan for the benefit of the Hyuga clan. The Hyuga clan, particularly himself, would become the new masters of Whirlpool, and an entire state under his rule would significantly increase his clan's power and prestige in the world. Not to mention that he violated the material retrieval protocol by destroying those sound berserker corpses, which we could have studied and used to improve our soldiers. Danzo Shimura added that he refused both food and drink while stamping his cane on the ground for effect. As my first act as Hokage, I will personally put him on trial. Of course, after the boy defeats Orochimaru first, Hideo added, to which Danzo nodded. Of course, once he's dealt with that traitor, we'll radio and order him to take control of Anchor Vanshin for us. The loss of the berserker corpses was regrettable, but capturing Anchor Vanshin intact would more than compensate. Your Grace, we will need you to issue the command directly to him. Danzo observed the new fire daimyo Masashi Madako. Yes. I'll instruct that brat not to destroy the flying fortress or the last berserker. With them and the Jinchurikis, I can transform Fire Country into the Fire Empire. Masashi exclaimed with glee. Every other country will either submit to me or face total annihilation. The brand new fire daimyo was on his fourth cup of sake, his face turning a bright red from the alcohol. Danzo Shimura bowed his head in respect. Certainly, Your Grace. Though mentally he was thinking, idiot child, it took everything he had not to strike this pompous spoiled princeling. The prince, on the other hand, was useful, and it would be worth it in the end. He knew how to play people like Masashi, how to flatter them with praise, how to give them ideas and make them believe they were their own, and how to give them just enough lead so they could strut and puff themselves up. The idiot could sit on the throne, but Danzo would be the true power behind the scenes, ruling from the shadows as he always has. Meanwhile, Masashi was salivating at the prospect of becoming the first Fire Emperor, with all other states united under the Fire Banner. As Emperor, he would have a harem of hundreds of beautiful concubines to please him whenever he pleased. He sniggered with delight as he requested another cup of sake. Assholes. They're all of them, Kurama made a remark about these leaders. The Biju had been around for millennia and had seen most human leaders corrupted and self-serving, just like these three. They were now plotting to take over Tsunade and Naruto after the fight was over. They had displayed the worst aspects of human nature. The Kyuubi no Kitsune had discovered their plot through Shadow Clone Black. They were convinced that if Konoha won the war with a Pyrrhic victory and everyone was exhausted, Root would simply emerge from the shadows and take over. Even Naruto couldn't stop the battle-hardened survivors with their forces hidden away and at full strength. A group would storm Uzumaki Manor for two reasons. First, Root head scientist Tanuki Shigaraki and his team must retrieve the remains of the ancient demon Satori for their new project. The second squad, which included several members of the Fire Royal Guards, would apprehend the Wind Daimyo, who was hiding at the most fortified Uzumaki Manor. The Daimyo would be the first leader of a country to swear allegiance to the Fire Empire. Tsunade Senju would be replaced as 6th Hokage by Danzo because she failed to protect the Fire Daimyo and Lady Shijimi. These cowards hide and don't help the village while blaming the kid in the 5th Hokage for everything. After becoming Hokage, Danzo would be appointed Master of War by the new Fire Daimyo and given a blank check to conquer all nations in order to establish a Fire Empire. Other military ministers had expressed interest in the top position. They didn't dare to challenge Konoha's darkness, preferring to simply support Shimura and pick up any scraps he was willing to toss their way. Because Black had discovered the Kumo evidence files, which were allegedly in the Fire News Network studio vault, the Konoha Elder was confirmed as the perpetrator and instigator of this war. Kurama was enraged. This man was responsible for countless deaths in the Neo-Combine attack on Konoha, all in the name of Konoha and peace, and yet he and his soldiers and associates didn't come out to help the fighting outside. People were dying, and these cowards hid in the darkness, giggling and mocking everything for which people were sacrificing their lives. Hypocrites. Chickenhawks. Lickspittles. In addition, another team of young Hyuga traditionalists would seize Hinata and place a caged bird seal on her in order to control Naruto. Kurama became concerned when Hiashi and Hitomi were rendered unconscious and placed in their medevac scrolls, and he kept an eye on Danzo and his friends, particularly these Hyuga traditionalists, through Black. The Hyuga High Elder became audacious and planned to usurp Hyuga leadership. Hideo Hyuga had assigned his son Naoki to accompany the Uzumaki Manor team on a secret mission to destroy Haishi's and Hitomi's scrolls in order for the father and son to become the Hyuga clan heads. The clan elder truly believed that once he and his traditionalists took power, they would usher the clan into a new golden age of prosperity and power. The fox, on the other hand, believed that Hideo Hyuga would sell his daughters, if he had any, and then justify it as for the good of the clan. The Fire Crown Prince was a lecherous man who had raped numerous young women and gotten away with it because he was a crown prince. Hideo knew the prince desired Hinata, so he directed his Hyuga team to bring her to the new Fire Daimyo after sealing her. The elder was certain that this would greatly please that spoiled piece of shit prince, who would grant the Hyuga clan more privileges and power. True. When Hideo said he could arrange to give Hinata to the crown prince for a night, Masashi gladly promised him the position of Imperial Admiral of the Fire Fleet. Would you lick his $1 for the sake of your clan, Hideo? With a snarl, the Kyuubi said. No, you'd probably have someone else do it while you watch, and you'd make no sacrifice. This display of greed, corruption, and apathy made him dislike certain people. people called him a monster, but the true monsters were people like these. The Biju was disgusted by the Konoha elder Danzo Shimura, the Fire Crown Prince Masashi Madako, and the Hyuga High Elder Hideo Hyuga. They were all out to benefit themselves by spitting on others. They were all parasites, claiming glory and power from the sacrifices of people braver than themselves. However, no Fire Empire, no Fire Emperor, no Masashi Madako the Fire Daimyo, no Danzo the Hokage, and no Hideo the Hyuga clan leader will occur. The Kyuubi no Kitsune spoke up as a Shadow Legion led by the deadliest Kage Bunshin Gray approached. Because all of you assholes will perish very soon in this dark little rat hole. Things have gotten progressively worse, then much, much worse. Kumo Kurama reflected to herself as she observed the combined ninja forces from behind her genjutsu. She took a deep breath and then recounted the events of the previous 3 hours. Today was the Konoha Chunin exam, and everyone in the K-15 platoon was looking forward to it because they had received special training from their commander, Elite Jonin Naruto Namikaze. The K-15 platoon, also known as the Leaf Raiders, was a newly formed special operations unit similar to the Golden Horn Forces of Kumo, where the Namikaze received his ninja training. The K-15's 2-month training was difficult, but everyone made it through. Those who passed the preliminary were sure they'd be Chunins today, until Orochimaru showed up and ruined everything. The Snake Sanin used Naruto's parents' enemies as a catalyst to resurrect the Combine, the same alliance that destroyed Whirlpool Village. His Neo Combine was over 60,000 strong, with flying capital ships and the Anchor Vanshin flying fortress. Konoha had only 10,000 defenders. The Leaf Village was vastly outnumbered and outgunned, and hope was fading fast. When the Anchor Vanshin attacked K-15 with its powerful Yamato cannon, everyone escaped death thanks to the Nanabi's timely intervention. However, the platoon was divided into units, and the Kurama clan heiress, Tenten Matashi, Rock Lee, Renmara, Sai, Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, and Shoji Akamichi were dropped behind the Hokage monument. When the sky ships landed on the Hokage monument, they crushed and killed many Leaf artillery ninjas stationed there. Sky destroyers were converted into artillery and shelled Konoha. Because Elite Jonin Naruto Namikaze and Chunin Meiji Hyuga were not present, the K-15 third in command, Chunin Tenten Matashi, took command. "Stay where you are," the Chunin Kunoichi ordered over the radio. "Renmara and I will come find you." It took nearly an hour to gather everyone who had become dispersed behind the enemy line, and they even discovered 9 Leaf artillery genins who had survived the skyship's landing. K-15 recognized the majority of them, including Anaho, Kamugi, Genai, Hosei, and Manabu Akado, who took the Chunin exam but failed the first phase. The situation worsened when the 8 raiders discovered that they only had 5 Uzumaki Advanced Individual Combat Kit scrolls left. The rest, including the backup safeguarded by Sai, were destroyed during the Yamato cannon attack. How will we survive this onslaught? Kumo inquired in her mind. Her train of thought was interrupted by a radio call. "Everyone, come to me now," said Chunin Tenten Matashi, the K-15's third in command, who had now taken command of everyone present. The Chunin began to speak 3 minutes after all Leaf ninjas gathered at Tenten's position and bowed their knees in respective homage. "Lady Hokage has assigned us an S-rank mission. Destroy those sky artillery ships that are bombarding our village," she said solemnly to each of her ninjas. "Operation Skyfall has begun. This is our final opportunity to win this war." All genins took a few seconds to process their leader's announcement, and their eyes widened, especially the non-raider genins. One of them, an artillery genin, abruptly stood up. He was 21 years old and found it difficult to keep up with a much younger Chunin. "With thousands of their ninjas crawling around, how do we destroy those combined ships? We are only 17 in number. We're doomed. We're all going to die, so let's get the hell out of there. When a kunai flew past his left cheek, a small amount of blood oozed from the wound where the sharp weapon grazed him. Remember your duty as a leaf ninja, the weapon maiden said, hissing. Furthermore, Genin is the Hokage's direct order. And if you say anything else about abandoning your post, I'll aim for your tongue the next time. The Chunin continued after the Genin sat back down. We are fighting Orochimaru, Kumo, and their combine for our home, village, and family. Have you heard anything about Shelter E2? What became of it? Inaho inquired. The other 8 artillery Genins were thinking the same thing. It's no longer there. Orochimaru annihilated it with his flying fortress. Tenten replied, her eyes welling up with tears. More than 1,000 men, women, and children were killed. In the blink of an eye, Ino added, her eyes welling up with tears. The news caused the 9 artillery Genin's eyes to widen before they turned their heads in horror towards Anchor Vanshin. The male raiders' expressions were all grim, including Sai's. Yakumo entered the discussion. Have you read the revealed report on what the Hidden Cloud Village tried to do to Lord Naruto Namikaze and Lady Hinata Hyuga? You've done well, so it's either victory or death for everyone in Konoha. There was resolve in everyone's eyes a split second after Yakumo mentioned Konoha's potential horrible fate if they lost. We had to win or die trying. Defeat is not an option, Tenten said, and everyone nodded. So here's the plan. We'll split into 2 squads, Assault Raider and Artillery Fallback. I'll lead the first squad. Kamugi, you lead your artillery colleagues in the second squad and provide us with artillery support if needed. She handed the Genin 4 scrolls. These contain the most recent type of trebuchet, Type 9, and the payloads are already marked with the Uzumaki Havoc high explosive seals. You should be able to recognize them soon. We raiders need some privacy now, and you 9 get to work. Hi. Tenten set up a domain privacy seal around the raiders after the artillery squad left for their mission. Her strategy could not be eavesdropped on. Then she examined her raiders' eyes one by one. We're the Leaf Raiders. High Commander Naruto had rigorously trained us to disrupt and destroy enemy operations behind enemy lines. Do you remember the war game at the Forest of Death? Can you capture the flag? Choji inquired while munching on chips about preparing for his mission. Nope, try again. What's a hot bomb? Yakumo spoke up, and the Chunin nodded. How can we not forget that? Ino inquired rhetorically. There were so many large, dangerous animals waiting to devour us. The commander's shadow legions patrolled the forest and the tower itself was riddled with booby traps. We failed numerous times, and he made it even more difficult by constantly changing his legions and booby traps. To force us to improve and adapt to various harsh situations, Shikamaru added. And for the 9th time, we succeeded in planting the bomb inside the tower. Tenten paused the reminiscence with a "that is enough" gesture. Now it's time to put our hellish training to use. We're going to infiltrate their ships and plant bombs there, specifically the launch towers on their aircraft carriers and the cannons on their gunships. Commander Naruto has already completed 3 missions, leaving us with 9 ships. The plan is to deal with 1 squadron at a time, divided into 4 two-person teams. 3 teams use Uzumaki Predator stealth seals and genjutsu to infiltrate those boats and plant havoc seals there, while the 4th team supervises and coordinates the 3 teams as well as the artillery squad. Shikamaru and Choji, you are Team D, and you are in charge of backup and coordination with the artillery squad. Shikamaru, you are the second in command, and you are in charge of the detonator. Before pointing a location on a map, the Chunin Kunoichi passed a scroll to the Nara. After we finish the Combine's first squadron, this will be our rendezvous point. Kumo and Lee, you are Team C, and you are in charge of the destroyer on the left. Renmara and Sai make up Team B. The carrier is yours, boys. Ino, you're on Team A with me, and we'll take care of the destroyer on the right side. Have a question? Ino was the first to raise her hand. Why don't you and I board the aircraft carrier? I can command the ship captain's buzzards to attack that flying fortress using mind jutsu. Kaboom! Everyone raised their heads when they noticed an explosion on the fortress. Tenten replied, Lady Hokage has already assigned someone to deal with it. The most skilled ninja. Everyone assumed it was Commander Naruto. Even the entire Sky Buzzard fleet, let alone a single carrier's flyers, don't have enough firepower to bring down that massive fortress. Not Anchor Vanshin, but our order is to neutralize those grounded ships. Tenten stated. We have 1 hour to drop the bombs on the first squadron before moving on to the next. Remember, the Combine ninjas are not Naruto's shadow clones. They will interrogate, torture, and kill us, so stay alert. It's time to put our training to use and save our village. Without guts, there is no glory. Hi. Yosh. Everyone then shuffled off to their respective missions. Zone 3, 1300. You will pay for stealing 10 years of my life with my family. Hinata Hyuga used Byakugan and her own lightning armor to launch an attack without the help of her fellow raiders, Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and Akamaru. She charged at her kidnapper, the fourth Raikage. The Namikaze Hyuga incident mastermind's eyes widened when he realized the Hyuga girl was wearing the same Raiden armor he was wearing. The rumor is true, the Hyuga possesses lightning armor jutsu, which he used to defeat Itachi Uchiha in Wave Country. It must have been taught to her by the cursed Kyuubi brat. Shit. It was Hinata's first time swearing as her pale eyes widened when a sidestepped and grabbed her right arm. The Hyuga instinctively thrust her left arm and dagger forward, but the Kumo leader delivered a powerful kick and punch combo to her body, sending her flying right into a wall and causing large cracks from the impact. How could I have allowed my hatred to blind me to attack a more powerful man head-on? As she fell to the ground and the damaged wall collapsed on top of her, the Hyuga blamed herself. Hatred is a two-edged sword. It can inspire you to be stronger, but it can also destroy you and those around you. Hinata remembered Naruto telling her about his Jinchuriki experience before she passed out. You are now mine. The fourth Raikage ran towards the knocked-out Hinata. He'd returned to his village with his Hyuga prize, leaving the fight to his ninjas. A's head was covered in golden drips. Does it rain? But there was something wrong, the rain smelled bad. When he raised his head, he noticed Akamaru urinating on top of him. Mutt, how dare you piss on me? An enraged A was about to attack the Ninken with a ranged Raiden jutsu when a kunai missed him, hit the wall, and blew up. The Leaf Genin in the shade was standing on a rooftop with a crossbow. Little annoyance. Violent lightning rat quake. The Raikage hurled several devastating electricity discs at Shino. The Aburame remained motionless as a pair of discs passed through him. Clone method. A realization. The real Shino Aburame was hiding inside a building and took advantage of the opportunity to empty his cartridge scroll attached to his crossbow. The Kumo leader ran and avoided the kunai barrage. He'd be blown up by a Havoc Seal if he was even a second late, let alone went to pick up Hinata. Kiba right now. Shino yelled as he replaced the cartridge scroll in his AK-16. Wolf Fang Fang. The Raikage saw two powerful vortexes approaching him at breakneck speed, and he dodged them just in time. He was astounded to discover that his jacket had been ripped, that he had cuts and blood on his right arm, and that the impacted concrete walls had been shredded. The Kumo leader didn't have time to think about the powerful Inuzuka attack because he had to flee as Shino fired a volley of explosive kunai at him. What are Kurai and his company up to? They should have arrived by now. The Raikage was furious about his backup. When Orochimaru informed him that Hinata Hyuga was in Zone 3, the Raikage dispatched one of his Jonins and a Kumo company to retrieve his Hyuga, charging ahead of them. Regardless, they should be here by now. When the powerful vacuum vortexes returned to A, they hit him in the chest, breaking 4 ribs and sending him flying into a nearby yakiniku queue. Fire in the hole, Shino said calmly as he emptied another cartridge containing 30 explosive kunai into yakiniku queue. Choji is going to be disappointed about losing his favorite restaurant. Kiba also pulled out a scroll, which revealed his own AK-16. He quickly slammed a cartridge labeled Hellfire beneath his crossbow before firing into the same structure. The building exploded and caught fire the next second. "I've got him." Kiba cheered while lowering his left knee and panting, and his Ninken partner lay beside him resting as well. "We squandered the Raikage. We'll all be promoted to Jonins and given top medals." The bug ninja waved his hand, his face expressionless. To check on the status, a small swarm of his Kikai bugs flew inside the burning building. "We have to thank Commander Naruto for making it difficult for us to use the Fang Wolf Fang technique against him because he sealed Akamaru's dynamic marking. He reacted similarly to the Raikage when Akamaru pissed on him." The Inuzuka laughed. "I explained to him that targets must first be marked by Akamaru's strong urine smell in order for the Fang Wolf Fang technique to track them. Then Naruto didn't seal Akamaru's piss, and we could practice me and Akamaru train on tracking fast targets like Naruto, while he trains on dodging and damage resistance, right Akamaru?" He asked his most devoted companion, who barked in agreement. The bug ninja also nodded in agreement. Naruto had trained them well and shrewdly, pairing each with every other raider in various two-person teams in survival wargames against a Shadow Legion, so everyone was familiar with all other raiders' skills. A figure dashed out of the destroyed Yakiniku Q building towards Shino Aburame. When A's four-finger hell stab pierced his crossbow rather than his body, the alarmed bug ninja raised his AK-16 just in time. His Kikai bugs swarmed to the Raikage to protect him, but they were all zapped by his lightning armor. The Raikage roared and delivered a vicious uppercut to the Aburame's jaw, shattering it and knocking him off the roof. "Fucking hell!" exclaimed one. Kiba fired his AK-16 at the Raikage, who vanished and reappeared right next to the dog right ninja's side, unleashing a devastating elbow attack. As the Inuzuka's ribs were shattered, a loud crack could be heard. "Aarrhhh." Kiba screamed and coughed up a lot of blood as he was thrown across a dozen buildings. Akamaru lunged at the Raikage, who slashed the Ninken with a vicious vertical chop. The ninja canine was launched into the air until Hinata Hyuga caught him. "You've woken up," Raikage stated. Hinata gently lowered Akamaru to the ground. "You accompany me, and they will live." The Hyuga princess glared furiously at the Kumo leader. "You lie. Just like the 10-year-old peace treaty that was a ruse to kidnap Naruto and me. Isn't this what you plan for Konoha anyway? You'll leave them here to die, or have them ransomed or enslaved, or both." She charged at her foe, her daggers crossed in an X shape. "So you went the difficult route, huh?" The Raikage grinned smugly and charged as well. "That's fine with me." Hinata threw her daggers at the Raikage and performed a body replacement jutsu as she was 1 meter away from him. When the Raikage saw a log covered in havoc seals, his eyes widened. The explosive seals were also applied to the daggers.
I had no chance of escaping unharmed at this point-blank range.
Boom. Hinata remembered Naruto's assessment of her battle with Itachi Uchiha in Wave Country. Your lightning armor allows you to match Itachi's speed, but the Raikage is much faster. Speed always wins fights, but it can also be defeated through tactics, deception such as feign, and surprises. When she noticed the Raikage's right arm was bloodied and slumped, she smiled. Her trick worked, and she charged with a new pair of daggers. The Raikage was seriously injured, but he was no pushover. He dodged Hinata's hissing blades coated in Raiden chakra as they slashed at him, and he retaliated by punching her in the midsection. The Hyuga doubled over and coughed blood, and A was ready to finish her off with another punch to her right solar plexus. Hinata rolled over, and her dagger cut through his left arm brace like a hot knife through butter. The Kumo leader felt a sharp pain on his forearm in a straight line. The Hyuga continued her attack by thrusting her right dagger into the Raikage's heart, but her attack was cut short when he kicked her hand, causing her to drop her dagger. He then squeezed her neck with his only left hand. I win. Finally, you are mine. He smiled triumphantly. If you don't give me that Kyuubi brat's testicle as promised, I'll teach you to fear my wrath. Naruto? Hinata inquired weakly, as she struggled desperately to free the Raikage's hand, only to black out. The leader of the Hidden Cloud Village grunted. Who else come to mind? You two are part of my 10-year plan. You two can create ultimate ninjas for Kumo. That little jerk ruined my grand plan, and now he's going to pay with his life and everyone he cares about. His 2 Uzumaki clan's women will participate in the breeding program with you. When Hinata Hyuga reactivated her Byakugan, something inside her snapped. Her experience with the Kumo slave and breeding program was traumatic. It wasn't the sex slave training she received, but what she saw on her friends in the program, who had become nothing more than baby factories, and many of them died giving birth to children for the Hidden Cloud Village, which was trying to expand its population with bloodline limits. All in the name of the Cloud leadership's will, especially this despicable man in front of her. Riko. Yui. Hikari. Hinata sobbed and muttered the names of her 9 deceased slave friends in a low voice that the Raikage could barely hear. Her trembling left hand touched a seal on the armor plate that protected her left thigh, and a new Uzumaki dagger appeared in her hand, which she used to stab the Raikage's holding left forearm with all her remaining strength. Fuinjutsu inscriptions spread across his arm in a split second, and the man felt his strength drained severely. What the hell happened? The Raikage was perplexed, and his grip on the Hyuga was greatly weakened. Hinata used this opportunity to slash across his face, from his left cheek to his right brow, with another dagger in her right hand. She had no idea it was the same pattern her love had given to the Kumo leader 2 months before, and this time his right eye had been destroyed. AAARRRGGHHHHHHH. The Raikage screamed in pain and instinctively let go of Hinata. The Hyuga gripped her dagger in reverse in her right hand, and rage overtook her as she slashed horizontally across the Raikage's thighs, severing his tendons. Then she slashed mercilessly across his abdomen again, then bottom left to upper right diagonally across his body, cutting his heart, and finally a right to left horizontal slash across his chest. The Raikage's body bore a large Z mark, and Hinata's expression was neither pity nor horror when the Kumo leader's entrails emerged. For everyone WHO died for your power hunger. The Byakugan princess was drenched in A's blood, but she wasn't finished yet. Her right dagger was now coated in lightning chakra, and she separated the Raikage's head from his shoulders in an instant. Hinata quickly walked towards the Yondaime Raikage's head, attempting to crush it with her foot. Someone placed a firm hand on her right shoulder, preventing her from moving forward. "Stop doing it." That is all. It was a friendly voice. Hinata rolled over and noticed Shadow Clone Gray. Gray stood out because of the color on his right armband. "You sought justice for your deceased friends and have now avenged them. They can finally relax." When the dam burst, Hinata began to cry in Gray's arms, releasing all her emotions and pains. Gray was the shadow clone with the most in common with his creator, Naruto. On behalf of his boss, the shadow clone wrapped his arms around Hinata. "Hinata, I am glad you are okay, my love," said the boss. "The Raikage has died, and the Namikaze Hyuga incident has concluded. Your nightmare has ended. Yes, it's finally finished. I couldn't have survived this without you teaching me the Uzumaki clan's Devastator Fist." 3 years before. It had been a week since Naruto returned from Uzushio with caches of Uzumaki treasures, golds, weapons, and secret scrolls. "I recall your father and Uncle Hazashi teaching you, me, and brother Neji basic taijutsu, but not the Hyuga's renowned gentle fist, probably because I am not a Hyuga, or probably because I don't have Byakugan, or both." While the other girls, Kuretsuchi, Sayuri, and Asuka Terumi, were training or relaxing, Naruto spoke to Hinata privately in his study room. "This brings us to a point. The Hyuga and Uchiha clans developed their own taijutsu, the Gentle Fist and the Interceptor Fist, based on their individual abilities, namely their dojutsu. The Uzumaki clan also has their own taijutsu, the Devastator Fist." "Is that the Devastator Fist?" Hinata inquired because she was intrigued by Naruto's mother's clan, which had been destroyed decades before. "It is enhanced by the Uzumaki clan's powerful Fuinjutsu ability. According to the Kumo's battle reports that I borrowed and read, the Hyuga Gentle Fist disables the target's chakra nodes and causes internal damage. They discovered it to be very similar to the Uzumaki Devastator Fist." Hinata's pupils dilated. "How? How does an Uzumaki find and disable an enemy's tenketsu without all-seeing eyes? Or does the Uzumaki clan also have dojutsu?" "No, the Uzumaki clan lacks dojutsu, but there is a rumor that the Uzumaki and Hyuga clans are related." Naruto responded. "Because Fuinjutsu can affect the entire body, Devastator Fist practitioners do not require Byakugan to locate individual chakra tenketsu. Without Byakugan or that complicated 8 trigrams 64 palms, a few well-placed hits on critical areas with Fuinjutsu can destroy an enemy. It is said that wherever Devastator Fist strikes, it destroys. The Devastator Fist is extremely powerful." Hinata expressed her admiration. "Now, I tell you this because I want you to learn the Uzumaki Devastator Fist so that we have a better chance of escaping." The pale eyes of the Hyuga widened once more. "But how can I?" Hinata inquired, stutteringly. "How do I master the Devastator Fist if I'm not a Fuinjutsu expert?" Uzumaki's face was filled with reassurance. "Buki Taijutsu is weaponized taijutsu. Because not all Uzumakis are seal experts, they carry weapons with Fuinjutsu inscribed on them. The Devastator Fist is a Fuin weapon taijutsu hybrid. That's why many people out there want an Uzumaki clan weapon of at least a rank as badly as those 7 elite mist swords." Then Naruto's expression became solemn. "I trust you, Hinata Hyuga, that you will not reveal the secrets of the Uzumaki Devastator Fist to anyone, including your Hyuga clan?" Present. "Yes, I swear I will guard the secrets of the Uzumaki clan, including the Devastator Fist, and carry it to my grave." Hinata Hyuga remembered saying something to her benefactor, who was now her fiancé copyright. Actually, she felt very honored to be entrusted with such important secrets. It was the Uzumaki Devastator fist training that earned her fame in the Leaf Village and the Hyuga clan, as well as heroine admiration from her sister Hanabi and cousin Aoi. And now she has defeated and killed the Raikage, bringing the Namikaze Hyuga incident to a closure. The last perpetrator of the abduction has been dealt with. Hello, Hinata. Kiba's voice was heard. You assassinated the Raikage. Awesome. You completed Naruto's task. Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and Akamaru approached the Hyuga, escorted by a group of shadow clones. Shino, Kiba, and Akamaru. You are all fine. She was relieved to see her fellow raiders in good health. Gray's Legion has attended to our injuries. He has been watching us fight the Raikage since the beginning, Kiba said as he frowned at the cage bunchen. The commander's Shadow Legion has neutralized the Raikage's reinforcement, Shino said, raising his shades. I was wondering why he was the only foe here. Hinata, Shino, Kiba, and Akamaru were looking at Gray, asking, why did you just watch us get pounded and didn't help? Gray stood there with his hands behind his back, unapologetic. Yes, I was watching your fight against the Raikage from the start. My legion and I could intervene, but you would miss out on the opportunity to prove yourself and earn promotion. Even the Kyuubi no Kitsune is impressed, and your commander Naruto Namikaze will recommend you 3 for promotion to Chunin rank, as well as Akamaru. Congratulations to all 4 of you. Yeah. Kiba exclaimed joyfully as he hugged his ninkin. Thank you very much, Akamaru. And you as well. I'll teach you human language so you can one day lead genins like Kuromaru. Shino, too, was smiling as the ninkin barked happily. The Raikage's head was sealed inside a scroll by a shadow clone. Take the scroll, Gray instructed Hinata. This area is still dangerous. The Lavender Legion is on its way to meet you and accompany you to safety. You will go to Uzumaki Manor to pick up the Hokage's next order. That Karen TV broadcast was most likely from the Hokage Tower, and 2 legions have been dispatched to reclaim the tower. To repay the favor, we will broadcast the 4th Raikage's death to the Combine using his head. Are you sure you're not coming with us? Kiba inquired, his gaze fixed on Gray and his 99 shadow clones. Gray turned to face the route headquarters, which was several blocks away. He turned around to face Inuzuka. We will cover your backup. There are still enemies out here, some of whom are hiding in rat holes, and we will kill them all. Anchor Vanshin 1330. Do not let them through. Sky Ninja Squad leader yelled. His unit was guarding a corridor choke point and firing non-stop as a swarm of shadow clones attacked them. We urgently require reinforcement. The Sky Squad was unaware that the true Naruto was on top of them, using a stealth predator seal crawling on the ceilings like a spider, quietly and quickly passing through them. Hinoka and her team, which included Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Takuma Hyuga, had also infiltrated the fortress. Hey, kid, that sound ninja Tayuya and Neji are fighting is a Kaguya with Shikatsumiyaku. Kurama told his host. What is the bloodline limit for Dead Bone Pulse? It's fate that Uzumaki and Kaguya fight again. Naruto's joke about his surrogate brother's fate word made the Kyuubi no Kitsune laugh. I've assigned the Crimson Legion to guard them just in case. Thank you for providing backup for Tayuya, Kurama. Don't bring it up. I'm just commanding and coordinating your legions to keep boredom at bay. In addition, we discovered Karen Uzumaki's hidden village grass. The Golden Slayer's face darkened as she considered the numerous bite marks on Karen's body. If I'm not mistaken, The Kusa army is in the middle section, between zones 2 and 5. After Tayuya and Neji have finished with that Kaguya, I want the Legion to pay a visit to the Kusa ninjas. Zone 3, 1330, Route Headquarters. If Danzo had learned anything in his long career, it was that intelligence is a critical key to victory. As a result, urgent news and battle updates must never be delayed. That's why Danzo Shimura ordered his subordinates to notify him of any developments as soon as possible. Even if it was late at night and the rest of the world was sleeping, his agents knew to wake him up with any news. He didn't sleep much anymore. He could rest when he died. For now, there was work to be done. So the route leader made no fuss when his subordinate interrupted his short lunch break with updates from the battle raging above them. Danzo took the information quietly. He then wiped his brow and proceeded to the main conference room, where his fellow conspirators had gathered. The Raikage has been killed by Hinata Hyuga. Everyone was surprised, especially the Hyuga elders, who were in complete denial. Impossible. How could that useless weak girl have killed the Raikage, one of the world's strongest ninjas? Even Danzo admitted that he had difficulty swallowing the information when he was told. He had previously assessed Hinata's strength at the intermediate Chunin level. The Raikage's level, on the other hand, had been rated on a par with the 3 legendary Sannin. Nonetheless, the videotape presented to them was unequivocal proof. Root had secretly installed secret spy cameras throughout the village in the name of Konoha. Some cameras survived the Neo bombardment, combines, and one of them captured and recorded Hinata and the Raikage's fight, as well as the conversation between the Hyuga and Shadow Clone Grey. That's the Uzumaki Devastator fist. Danzo noticed while watching the footage. I've seen Lady Mito practice this taijutsu before. The Uzumaki Devastator fist? A member of the Fire Court inquired, and even the Hyuga elders were intrigued. It's the Uzumaki clan's unique taijutsu combined with their powerful fuinjutsu ability. It's even more powerful than the Uchiha's Interceptor Fist and the Hyuga's Gent. So Hinata Hyuga is only a few blocks away? Fire Crown Prince Masashi Madako cut the Konoha elder off in his explanation. Yes, Your Grace, Danzo nodded, his annoyance at being interrupted for a trivial question hidden. Children should be seen rather than heard, and they should never, ever interrupt the conversations of their elders. Now is the best time to capture her. Danzo, I want you to send some of your ninjas to bring her here right now. The prince said authoritatively. When they noticed a bulge on the crown prince's pants, everyone in the room was stunned and speechless. Those who had fought felt the temperature drop a few degrees Celsius, and they turned to look at Konoha's darkness, knowing he was furious deep down. You might jeopardize our plan just because you can't control your penis, thought Konoha's darkness, who saw the prince as more of a liability than an asset. He wanted to smack the spoiled princeling across the face with his cane. Perhaps sensing the tension, Hyuga High Elder Hideo stepped in. Surely, Lord Hokage, you can see the wisdom of the daimyo's decision to bring Hinata here now, because we can then put caged bird seal on her here, and then we can control the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and make him do our bidding, including the seizure of Anchor Vanshin for us. Hideo rubbed his hands together eagerly, attempting to calm down his allies. Not to mention that we can take Hinata's Uzumaki weapons and force her to reveal the Uzumaki clan secrets she knows for the good of the village. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Masashi exclaimed, pleased that Hideo had defended him with plausible reasons. Others, particularly Danzo, didn't believe the prince had considered anything other than his erection. However, the plan presented by the Hyuga elder was plausible and logical. Very well, the root leader agreed with the reasons given by the Hyuga elder. Hio. Without saying anything, said agent appeared right next to his master. You will lead a team to bring Hinata Hyuga here alive and well. Hello, exclaimed the agent before shun shining. The Konoha's darkness was enraged to see the delighted face of that idiot Masashi Madako, who smiled like a small child being given what they desired. When the elder read the prince's lips ordering his servant to prepare aphrodisiacs, his suspicions were confirmed. If this entitled spoiled brat continues to endanger missions or become a liability, I will fire him. Just like Gozu and Mezu on Keigan Uchiha, I can have one or two of my men surgically altered to look like him. Their ultimate victory was now within their grasp. The Raikage's death would indeed change the tides of battle. All that remained was time and careful planning. The capture of Hinata would be a risk, but if successful, Root would have all the tools needed to bring Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze to heel. And he would be the true ruler of the Fire Empire. Anchor Vanshin Bridge, 1335. Orochimaru slammed his fist into the console in front of him, severing it. In rage, his snake-like eyes narrowed. I want all my ninjas here to shift their priorities, to capture Sasuke Uchiha as well as Hinoka Uzumaki. The leader of the Hidden Sound Village ordered through communication. His adjutant, Elite Chunin Sasama Fuma, informed him that said Uchiha had been spotted among the Karen rescue team members who had infiltrated the flying fortress. Sasama paused for a moment before greeting her master with, "Hi." She turned off the comm and activated the PA system in the troop loading bays. Attention, all sound ninjas. This is the direct order from Lord Orochimaru. Your ground support operation has been paused, and our priority has shifted to capture Sasuke Uchiha and Hinoka Uzumaki who are inside this fortress. I repeat, your mission is now to capture Sasuke Uchiha and Hinoka Uzumaki at all costs. The Fuma Kunoichi turned off the PA and checked that all communications were turned off before sighing in frustration and stomping off to the female restroom for a break. How am I going to tell Brother Arashi that his reinforcement will not be arriving to assist him in fighting the third Hokage and the tree huggers in the Uchiha compound? However, her Hidden Sound Village leader's words were laws that had to be followed. Manda and most of his giant snake goons were gone, but there were plenty of other gigantic snakes in Ryuchi Cave to take their place. She did not want to be snake food. Sound Jonin Arashi Fuma, Sasama's brother, was the field commander of the Sound First Wave. He had joined forces with the Second Wave, which numbered over 7,000 ninjas and merc samurais. They were successful in destroying the mechanical 8 trigrams formation walls that stood between Zones 1 and 4. The Sound forces then attacked the Uchiha compound in Zone 4, but were repulsed with heavy casualties due to the presence of the Sandaime Hokage and some of his forces there. Hiruzen Sarutobi was past his prime, but he was known as the god of shinobi for a reason, and he was a one-man army. Many Arashi soldiers were defeated by the 3rd Hokage's staff. Around 1,500 people had died in the Hidden Leaf Village. The Neo Combine, on the other hand, had already suffered far more, over 12,000 casualties, dead or critically wounded, all thanks to the Golden Slayer and the Leaf's excellent defense, complemented by individual AK-16 crossbows that shot explosive kunai, which claimed the lives of many Combine ninjas. But Lord Orochimaru, the supreme commander of the Neo Combine, appears to be unconcerned about the staggering and mounting casualties. Thought the Sound Kunoichi as she washed her face. Sasama noticed her sky counterpart Amaru entering the restroom through the mirror. Kimamero's illness was treated by Amaru, Sky Marshal Shino's medical protege. Throughout the course, the two developed romantic feelings for one another. It didn't escape Orochimaru's notice, and with help from the Kumo's breeding program, the Snake Sanin devised the Clan Restoration Act. Kimamero's second fiancé, Sasama Fuma, assisted him in restoring the Kaguya clan. The Sky Special Jonin and the Fuma Elite Chunin were sister wives. When you left your station, I asked Lord Orochimaru to reconsider and send some ninjas to support the ground forces on the Sky Marshal's behalf, but he refused, even for Kimimaro, the Sky Kunoichi said angrily. Sasama Fuma pounded her fists on the benchtop. Damn that Kyuubi boy damaging Anchor Vanshin visual surveillance system in the Yamato cannon. We can't see Kimimaro's situation with that Tayuya Uzumaki. He is one of the strongest ninjas in the Neo Combine rank, but I'm still worried about him. The Leaf's resistance is much stronger than we expected. We didn't know there is a third Jinchuriki in Konoha, who can fly and fight. And that Kyuubi boy is stronger than we thought, Amaru added. Not only did he kill the Millennium Demon Satori and the Iwa General Shingen Hattori, neutralizing the Edo Tensai Uzumakis and wiping out the entire Sound Berserker Corps, but he also destroyed much of the second wave and a full squadron of skyships and 2 snow zeppelins. The Raikage is dead. Rushed Sasama's assistant Kotahime Fuma to the ladies' room. The girl's eyes widened as they gasped. Are you sure? Asked Sasama, seeking confirmation. Naruto destroyed Anchor Vanshin's surveillance system. Kotahime gave a nod. Yes, the Raikage's life signs are all flat on our system, and our sensor ninjas confirmed it. Is the Hyuga heiress to blame? Wondered Amaru. She is a former Kumo sex slave. How could she kill a cage? Did we underestimate her as well? 3 kunoichis dashed back to the bridge. Sasama and Amaru were contemplating their husband. Kimimaro, you have to win. Kimimaro, you are our only hope of keeping the table in our favor. Tayuya Uzumaki must be apprehended. Zone 5. What the fuck? Exclaimed Tayuya Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga as they watched Kimimaro Kaguya activate his second-level Cursed Seal of Earth. Sweat was pouring down the Leaf Duo's cheeks as they watched the Kaguya's transformation, 6 large bones protruding from his back, and a tail coming out. His chakra level has skyrocketed, Neji warned, his Byakugan activated. What on earth is that seal? Kimimaro took a look at the two. I must compliment you too. No one, except Lord Orochimaru, ever forces me to use this seal level. Tayuya and Neji had been fighting Kimimaro for the past 30 minutes after the Kunoichi refused to surrender to the Sound Ninja with, "Fuck you and your master Orochimaru." The Uzumaki and the Hyuga worked so well together using her Genjutsu and Uzumaki Fuinjutsu weapons and his gentle fist that they were a match for the Kaguya, one of the strongest Neo-Combine ninja. Dance of the Seedling Fern. Kimimaro, transformed, placed both hands on the ground. Thousands of large bone blades sprouted from the ground a split second later. Shit. Tayuya and Neji jumped in opposite directions to avoid the incoming bone blade tsunami, the Uzumaki to the west and the Hyuga to the east. The flute player landed on a rooftop and was taken aback by Kaguya's jutsu. The entire street had been engulfed by those 5-meter-long bone blades, forming a small forest. Many walls and structures were breached. Holy shit. Thank Kami that everyone has been evacuated, Tayuya exclaimed before freezing for a moment. She recognized the scream as being Neji's. Neji Hyuga's mouth was swollen with blood, and a bone blade pierced his heart. This sound, ninja. The Hyuga realized as blood poured from his mouth. He is aware of the Byakugan's fatal flaw. Kimimaro did not consider the previous 30 minutes of combat to be a waste of time. During the fight, he discovered a fatal flaw in Byakugan. People said Byakugan had all-seeing eyes, but it only has a small blind spot at the back of the user's neck. You are a worthy opponent, Kimimaro said respectfully, his bone sword piercing the Leaf Chunin's chest from behind. The Kaguya admitted that the Hyuga's taijutsu was superior to his, and that the latter deserved to be known as the Gentle Fist Genius. Kimimura's capture Tayuya mission had been hampered by Neji Hyuga. He nearly captured Tayuya 9 times, but was constantly stopped by the Leaf Chunin, so the Sound Jonin decided to eliminate him. I should have killed him half an hour ago, otherwise the fight wouldn't have lasted so long. Jugo is still being held captive by the Golden Slayer, and I need his clanswoman to help me get him back. Tayuya Uzumaki, not Lord Orochimaru, orders me to bring the Hyuga back. Now that Hyuga has met his ancestors, he will not stop me from taking Tayuya Uzumaki again. As Neji fell, he began to consider his family. Father, mother, and Aoi, I'm sorry for going first. He reflected on his father's strange question before departing for the Western Garrison Force. Do you like that Tayuya girl, Neji? The Hyuga Gentle Fist Genius couldn't understand why father insisted on him dating the Uzumaki girl. He didn't like the foul-mouthed Kunoichi in the first place because he thought she wasn't suitable for any Hyuga, but now. Yes, father, after I find out what kind of person she is, he replied to his father's question. Tayuya Uzumaki had a more painful past than he had, a homeless poor orphan descendant of Uzushio refugees. He couldn't help but fall in love with her after witnessing her clansmen's souls being sealed into a damnation fuinjutsu today. I should have confessed to her. The Hyuga thought as he died on a rooftop in a pool of his own blood. There were numerous clang loud metal and bone-breaking sounds that caught Kimimura's attention. Several chakra chains were destroying his bone blade forest, and his eyes widened. 2 more pairs of chakra chains were fired at him. The Kaguya avoided the first pair, but the second pair struck him hard in the head before the first pair returned to bind him. Tayuya Uzumaki emerged from the destroyed bone blade forest, carrying chakra chains on her back. Neji! Cried the Uzumaki as she ran to her dying Hyuga partner, tears streaming down her cheeks. She quickly but carefully placed him in front of her body, her left forearm in front of his mouth. It's adamantine attacking chains! Exclaimed Shadow Clone Crimson. He and his legion had been watching the whole thing. They had begun action to rescue Neji but were forced to halt when Tayuya's awakened Uzumaki bloodline limit began destroying Kimimura's bone blade forest. Crimson was relieved when Tayuya's heel bite healed Neji. The flute player was crying and saying something to the Gentle Fist Genius, and he responded. Their lips were read by the Shadow Clone. I can't lose you. I don't want to lose you. Neither do I, and I have something to tell you. Tayuya created a shadow clone and passed her a scroll while healing Neji. Place that boner in that brig seal. Tayuya smiled as her cage Bunshin imprisoned and knocked out Kimimura within the scroll. We now have 2 hostages. I'm hoping this will force that snake bastard to release Karen in exchange for his 2 top goons. Neji remained on Tayuya's front, and he blushed as he felt her breasts on the back of his head, despite the armor plate between his head and her boobs. We are ninjas, and we live with death every day. We can die at any time, especially now that we are fighting a powerful army. There may be no tomorrow for us, and all we ever have is today, and we should have no regrets if we die. And what is it? Uzumaki inquired. Neji locked his gaze on Tayuya. For not telling you how I feel about you, because I've fallen in love with you. Tayuya was stunned by Neji's confession, but she quickly lowered her head and pressed her lips against his. For 30 seconds, the Uzumaki and the Hyuga kissed passionately before the former reluctantly pulled her lips away from the latter's. I want to keep making out with you, but we're in a war zone. They were performing this passionate act at the wrong place and wrong time, Neji nodded. There could be more enemies out here waiting to attack them. I'm confident Naruto will win the war for us today, so we can resume kissing and claiming each other's virginity tonight. The Hyuga's face was bright red. The Uzumaki smiled as she draped Neji's right arm around her shoulders. When this is done, I'll fuck you so hard that you'll be unable to walk the next day and will beg for more. Distance of 200 meters. Tayuya Uzumaki has the same healing ability as Karen. Kusa Jonin Zosui observed before confronting his ninjas. The battle is over, and they must be exhausted. Now is the time to act. Zosui was in charge of Karen and her mother Nori, and he had used them to heal many of his fellow ninjas. He and his 200 ninjas were now under orders to apprehend Tayuya Uzumaki and Kimimaro Kaguya. Because of his caged bird seal, it was pointless to capture Neji Hyuga. Simply activating the seal would kill the boy and destroy his Byakugan. Don't bother taking that Hyuga branch house member, said Kazuo, the Kusa leader, after Zosui angrily ranted about Orochimaru. We lend Karen to him, but how dare he threaten to feed her to his snake to entice the Golden Slayer. The entire grass leadership distrusted the snake Sanin, but they needed to work together to defeat Konoha or Elsleaf, and her allies would wage a revenge war on them. War is expensive. Kusa had already misplaced their box of ultimate bliss, which held the Millennium Demon Satori. Karen Uzumaki, their more valuable treasure, may also be lost. The hidden grass village required compensation for their losses. When they found out about the fight between Tayuya Uzumaki and Kimimaro Kaguya, they decided on her as their prize and Karen's replacement right away. In wars, it's first come, first served for pillage and spoils. Zosui became even more determined to capture the flute-blowing Uzumaki Kunoichi after discovering Tayuya possessed the same ability Karen possessed. Taking Kimimaro would give you leverage over Orochimaru. 9 kunai with tags landed on the ground, forming a circular area beneath the Kusa ninjas. A split second later, the glue Fuinjutsu was activated, and inscriptions spread across the encircled land. I can't move, exclaimed a swarm of grass ninjas. Everyone used all of their strength, but not a single centimeter could be moved. What the hell is wrong with you? Ambush. Wah! Exclaimed many as Shadow Clone Crimson landed in front of the grass commander. Oh shit. Every Kusa ninja became terrified when they realized they were surrounded by shadow clones of the Golden Slayer standing on roofs. I have some questions about Karen Uzumaki and her mother, Crimson said to the grass Jonin, and a mindlog seal tag appeared on the shadow clone's right hand. The Fuinjutsu saved a person's memory and shared it with others, which is how Kushina learned about her son's adventures. Mindlog was also an excellent interrogation tool, as it allowed you to retrieve a subject's memory by simply copying it into the seal tag, which was more efficient than the Yamanaka clan's mind-reading technique. Crimson slapped the tag for 9 seconds on an immobile Zosui's forehead before removing it and placing it on his subordinate shadow clone #99's forehead. Kurama had informed Naruto that the mindlog was ready, and the Golden Slayer had found a secure location to receive and process the memory, eager to learn what had happened to Karen and her mother in the hidden grass village. Ready, Crimson said to number 99, who nodded and walked away. Kaboom! 9 seconds later. On Anchor Vanshin, there was a massive explosion. The flying fortress radiated a massive killing intent, the magnitude of which was unprecedented. Crimson punched Zosui in the mouth with all his might, and several frontal teeth fell out of his bloodied mouth. The Kusa ninja was trying hard not to cry in pain and to remain strong. With his left hand, the shadow clone grabbed his collar, and wind claws appeared on his right arm. The eyes of all Crimson Legion shadow clones were now red-slitted, their whiskers thickened, and fangs protruded from their mouths like carnivorous animals. They appeared extremely murderous, leaving the trapped Kusa ninjas terrified and many of them wetting their pants. He understands everything. Zosui, a hardened veteran ninja, became fearful as well, fearing what the Golden Slayer would do to them in retaliation for what he had done to Karen and her mother. Uchiha Compound, Zone 4, 5 minutes ago. Arashi Fuma's sound forces were having difficulty taking over the Uchiha Compound. The Otto Jonin's mission had been to capture all of the Uchihas in the area at the request of his master, Orochimaru, but it had proven far more difficult than he had anticipated. When my ninjas step foot on the Uchiha Compound, they lose chakra and physical strength, and a tree hugger can take down an entire squad. Is there a powerful seal master in the Uchiha clan? The Uzumaki Sanctuary Fuinjutsu, which was originally intended for Itachi Uchiha, was actually secretly reinforced by the Uchiha Compound. After the Uzumaki Manor, the compound was the safest place. The Sandaime Hokage, the Leaf High Commander in charge of the left section, was also present. Hiruzen Sarutobi took advantage of this advantage by fighting the much larger Neo-Combine forces with only one Leaf Battalion, while his other two battalions fought the enemy coming from the Hokage Monument in Zone 7. Kaboom! Anchor Vanshin experienced a massive explosion, followed by a massive killing intent washed over the Leaf Village from the flying fortress. When they heard distant blood-curdling screams, both sides paused fighting for a few seconds. Is that Zosui, my Kami? Arashi Fuma asked, recognizing a scream. In the Combine Commander meetings, the Sound Jonin met and became acquainted with said Grass Jonin. It terrified the Fuma because Zosui was supposedly in Zone 5, which meant the screams were very loud and the torture must have been excruciating and terrifying. This is bad. The screams scare the shit out of everyone here, morale is dropping. The Sound Jonin observed his troops before considering his grass counterpart. What kind of torture is Zosui subjected to? Who tortures him? And why are they torturing him? Over here. We still have room for shelter. Daisuke Uchiha exclaimed, motioning to a group of 50 civilians 100 meters away. He was standing at the entrance to a Uchiha compound. The Uchiha compound was fortified by the Uzumaki Fuinjutsu and became one of the village's most secure locations. Izumi Uchiha broadcast an invitation to stranded civilians to come to the Uchiha compound for safety, and the Uchiha Corps unanimously supported their big sis decision. The older Uchiha children guarded the gates, while the younger directed civilians to their homes. Kin Suchi was among the civilians. To blend in as a non-combatant, the Sound Genin, our former Sound Genin, changed her ninja outfit to civilian attire. Except for rations, a medical kit, and a few weapons she could claim she picked up for self-defense, she had discarded her ninja gear. Kin had witnessed Naruto Namikaze's destructive abilities as well as his brutality firsthand. There was speculation that the Golden Slayer was to blame for the terrifying screams heard now. If she could bet on a fight between Naruto and Orochimaru, she would bet everything on the Golden Slayer. Hello there. Kin and the civilians came to a halt, the latter turning around and freezing as a squad of sound ninjas pointed their M47 kunai launchers at them. Kin did not turn around, but was panickedly thinking. Oh shit, they might know who I am. I'm no longer alive. They'll take me to Orochimaru, who will brutally execute me. The Otto leader was not fond of deserters. She had seen the snake Sanin make an example of one by making him a sacrifice for Edo Tensei. However, the Sound leader, paradoxically, never cared about his soldiers, especially the low-ranking ones. Kin's mind was occupied by an idea. Perhaps I can tell them I'm posing as a civilian in order to capture a Uchiha? The Sound ninjas opened fire on the civilians before Kin could turn around. Several of them were hit and knocked down, while the rest screamed. Don't hurt my people. Daisuke Uchiha appeared between the civilian group and the sound squad, holding a kunai and spinning his one Tomo Sharingan. He deflected several kunai and ignored the minor pain from a grazed kunai on his left cheek. The Auto ninjas were shocked and horrified, knowing the serious consequences of scarring Uchiha. Chunin Izumi Uchiha appeared next to Daisuke with her 3 Tomo Sharingan, charging towards the sound squad and mercilessly slitting their throats. The Sandaime Hokage granted the Uchiha Kunoichi a temporary Chunin rank. Before reprimanding Daisuke, Izumi looked at him and was relieved to see he only had a minor wound on his face. Daisuke. Didn't Admiral General Mikoto order that the Uchiha Corps not fight the invaders? With a few tears in his eyes, the young Uchiha looked down on the ground in shame. But the civilians needed assistance, or they would all be killed like Papa and Mama. Izumi placed a hand on the youngster's shoulder. But you did well, Daisuke. The will of fire on the Uchiha Corps in you is burning brightly. Please don't leave the compound again. I'll bring a team here. Now you take the civilians to the compound and get the medics to treat the wounded. The praise made the young Uchiha smile. Yes, sir. Daisuke approached the civilians and looked at the younger members of the group, including Kin. We need to treat the wounded as soon as possible. Please assist me in carrying them inside the compound to the medics. Follow me closely or you will be affected by the Fuinjutsu here. Kin paled when he saw Daisuke's wounded face. Fortunately, the Uchiha turned his back to lead the civilians and missed her concerned expression. Orochimaru will most likely blame me for this Uchiha boy's scar as well. There is no turning back now. I made the right decision. I want to live, she told herself as she entered the Uchiha compound. I made the right decision. I want to live. Zone 5, 1430. A 600-strong Kusa reinforcement led by village leader Kazuo arrived at the source of the screams, a marketplace, and confirmed that no Naruto or his shadow clones were present before entering the scene. Oh, Kami. They were astounded to see all of Zosui's ninjas hanging upside down by ropes on their ankles, naked and unconscious, with bite marks on each of them, and their commander Zosui pinned to a wall naked and heavily mutilated. The left eye of the grass Jonin had been slashed blind, and there were texts carved all over his body. Cruel, cold-hearted bastard. Try some of your own medicine. Bites don't hurt, do they? You and your ninjas, on the other hand, screamed like pigs. The words, Nori Uzumaki, and Karen Uzumaki, were carved repeatedly on the Jonin's body. Many senior ninjas realized, the Slayer knows about Karen and her mother. There were non-fatal stab wounds on Zosui's joints, but it didn't take a doctor to tell him that his ninja career, and those bitten ninjas, were over. There. Kazuo's forces now noticed several genins, including Shior, cowering in a corner, strangely unharmed, but terrified and shell-shocked. What in the world happened here? A Kusa Jonin approached Shior and asked him, and it took a while for the Straw Hat Genin to gather himself and recall the event. TT the G Golden SS Slayer ambushed UUUSS. T then HEP put AATT tag on Jonin Z Zosui and one of his shadow clones. The Genin said steadily. Many Kusa veterans mused, a Fuinjutsu that can interrogate the mind? Shior continued, his hands shaking. T the Slayer then became enraged like an Oni. He knocked out Jonin Zosui's teeth and smashed his head against a wall. He pointed to his peers, who were hanging upside down naked like livestock, with his shaking right hand. His shadow clones started biting them like wolves. You ignored Karen's and Nori's pain and kept biting them, he was saying. You disregard the Uzumaki heel bite. It's time for you scumbags to taste your own medicine and show your gratitude to them. His clones began to carve something on their brows, ignoring their cries for mercy. "Oh my Kami, he's a monster." I'll never forget their screaming "Oh the demon's eyes." The disturbed grass reinforcement ninjas examined the Golden Slayer's victims closely and were shocked and horrified to see the Uzumaki clan symbol carved on their foreheads, with the texts, Karen, and or, Nori, carved on each victim. My Kami, he carved them deep past their skins onto their skulls. "I doubt our medics will be able to remove the scars," a grass ninja observed the wound, while his village leader Kazuo and some other ninjas trembled because they had also bit Nori and Karen. The Kyuubi brat knows everything. He knows Zosui is primarily responsible for Nori Uzumaki's death, which is why he mutilated him. He also knows who bit Nori and her daughter Karen for healing, which is why he left these genins alone. His retaliation is so bloody brutal. He will come for me. We have suffered great loss, and we are leaving Konoha. The leader said to his ninjas. Send a message to the base to pack up. Dear Lord Kazuo. We can't leave the Combine now or we'll face Orochimaru's wrath. A Jonin objected, terrified at the prospect of becoming snake food. And aren't we winning the war against the tree huggers? You don't have to be concerned about that filthy reptile. Fuinjutsu inscriptions spread across the ground where the Kusa ninjas stood. The immobile grass reinforcement looked up and saw the Golden Slayer's shadow clones all over the rooftops. The Red and Scarlet Legions had come to support Crimson in Naruto's Retribution campaign against the Hidden Grass Village, and the shadow clones stared at the terrified Kusa leader with slitted eyes. You're not leaving until you've paid your dues. 2 blocks away from the Root HQ. Shadow Clone Grey activated his Predator Seal, and he vanished in an instant, leaving only a slight distortion in the air where he moved. The Cage Bunshin placed a Fuinjutsu scroll, a Bushwhack Fuinjutsu, an advanced Brig Fuinjutsu that ambushed, knocked out, and imprisoned the enemy, just 100 meters from the building that served as the main entrance to the Root headquarters. Kurama had seen everything that was going on in Danzo's rat hole through Shadow Clone Black, and he immediately notified Grey that a Root team was dispatched to capture Hinata after her battle against the Raikage for that spoiled prince's unrestrained sexual desire. That arrogant prince certainly knows Hinata is Boss's fiancée, and if he survives the war, Boss will certainly make him flaccid for the rest of his life with Fuinjutsu. When Root ninjas Hyo and his fellow operatives entered a street with no functioning Root surveillance cameras, the Bushwhack Fuinjutsu planted by Grey Legion activated immediately, rendering them unconscious before sealing them into a scroll. Grey walked another 100 meters away from the Root building and placed another Bushwhack Fuinjutsu scroll on the ground, imprisoning the Kumo company that had been sent to help the Raikage capture Hinata. Grey placed another scroll between the 2 captured parties, this time containing the headless body of the slain Raikage. 40 Grey Legion Cage Bunshins hanged into either Root ninjas or Cloud ninjas on street corners. Kurama, all set, Grey said to the cunning Kyuubi no Kitsune, who had devised this scheme and was grinning. Showtime. Let the prisoners go. UGHH. Kumo Jonin Kurai groggily opened his eyes, massaging his both temples. What the hell just happened? When Orochimaru informed his leader Raikage of the Hyuga princess's whereabouts, the latter stormed out to reclaim her. Kurai took a company to back up their leader on this reclamation mission, but the Cloud Company encountered something that knocked out the entire unit. What threw us out? How long had we been gone? Is Lord Raikage in possession of the Hyuga? Kurai fully opened his eyes. What on earth is that? The Jonin was taken aback by what he saw in front of him, an enormous headless mutilated body that had been gutted and had a large Z mark cut. Those tattoos, those arm braces, the belt. IISS. The Cloud Jonin screamed hysterically as he recognized the body. It's Lord Raikage. No. 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 Dear Lord Raikage. All awakened Kumo ninjas cried and shouted, and Grey Cage Bunshin in cloud ninja forms joined the cries. Impossible. Nobody can take his life. But the Raikage is no longer alive. WHO did it? With grieving tears streaming down his cheeks, Kurai inquired aloud about his dear leader's killer, his eyes becoming extremely murderous and his killing intent spiked to the top. Over there are some tree huggers. A gray cloud shadow clone pointed at a group of gray root cage bunshins standing on roofs, while the genuine root ninjas were helpless on the ground due to the fuinjutsu. One of the gray root cage bunshin was holding a mysterious blood-soaked bag. The Raikage's head, yelled a second gray cloud cage bunshin. We got ambushed, said Grey Cloud Cage Bunshin number 3, mockingly. We thought Konoha had retreated to the village's outskirts, but they had left some forces behind to fuck us in the $1. Kurai made several hand signs, filled with rage, grief, and guilt for failing to protect his leader. Lightning Rat Violent Quake. Get them all. The entire company obeyed their Jonin's command, and 200 Kumo ninjas and Grey Root Shadow clones slaughtered the helpless Hyo and his fellow Root agents. Simultaneously, the Grey Root team ran towards the Root building, while the Grey Cloud team threw stolen Iwa Mayhem bombs into the structure. The Iwa Mayhem bombs exploded, revealing several injured or dead Root sentry ninjas in a large underground entrance. A Grey Cloud Shadow clone who had hacked into Kurai's Kumo sensor approached the Cloud Jonin and pointed to the ground. Sir. I felt a strong presence underground. This had to be the Leaf's hideout from which they attacked us from behind and killed Lord Raikage. The Jonin immediately turned on his radio and tuned in to the Kumo commander frequency. That Kumo Jonin bought it. Kurama smiled as he looked through Grey as Kurai distraughtly informed his fellow Jonins of their Raikage's death. Lord Raikage, I will avenge you. You tree huggers will pay for this. Jonin Kurai swore. Root headquarters arrives 30 minutes later. We will storm the Uzumaki Manor immediately after the Kyuubi Jinchuriki kills Orochimaru, Danzo Shimura explained to his Root team leaders and allies, which included Fire Crown Prince Masashi Madako and the Hyuga High Elder Hideo Hyuga. On the board next to the Konoha Elder was a blueprint of the manor, which detailed most of the rooms and chambers in the structure. Suguru Aburame, a Root agent who worked closely with the 5th Hokage, was also a member of Team RO. The Aburame had bugged the Uzumaki Manor's communications, and the Root headquarters here was aware of the situation in the Hokage's command center. The planning had begun shortly after Root had intercepted radio chatter indicating that Naruto's Shadow Legion was currently attacking the Anchor Vanshin's bridge, and the Golden Slayer himself was about to meet the Snake Sanin. Your Grace and I will take 300 ninjas and Fire Royal Guards as Group 1 to arrest Tsunade Senju and take over the entire command, they said, citing her failure to properly command the situation and defend the village, and the prince was eager to sign the document. There must be Hinata Hyuga. When she sees me lead Konoha and Fire Country to victory, she will fall in love with me. In delusional grandeur, the Crown Prince stated that he couldn't wait for a sexy time with the Hyuga princess. Once Lady Tsunade has been detained, our own officers will take command of the various forces still active in the field, while our men will seize control of the key positions within the village, the Konoha's Darkness said, suppressing his annoyance and ignoring the prince. At that point, an emergency council will be convened, and I will be confirmed as Konoha's legitimate Hokage. The tide was clearly turning in Leaf's favor, and Konoha's victory would be swift, and Root would need to act quickly for the sake of the Hidden Leaf Village. Group 2 will be assigned to the Uzumaki Armory. They will seize all of the Uzumaki clan's weapons and Satori's body. If Tayuya Uzumaki is present, it is their responsibility to apprehend her and use her to gain access to the vaults containing the Uzushio's secrets and treasures. Tanuki Shigaraki, the commander of this 100-strong group, stood up and bowed. Hi. Uzushio is Konoha's property. He couldn't wait to get Satori's body for the Roots covert new project. The High Elder of the Hyuga clan looked at his elder son Naoki, who nodded slightly, acknowledging his personal goal. He would accompany the group and find and destroy Haishi's and Hitomi's medevac scrolls, after which Hideo would be the undisputed leader of the Hyuga clan. You take 200 personnel and secure all the VIPs there, particularly the Wind Daimyo, the root leader said to Tatsuma Aburame. We'll use him to persuade the Suna ninjas, the Kazekage and their Jinchuriki, to surrender. Wind Country will be the first to join the Fire Empire, followed by Lightning Country. Masashi revealed his empire building strategy to everyone. You take the rest over 400 personals as Group 4 and secure the perimeter around the Uzumaki Manor, said Danzo, the appointed 6th Hokage and Fire Master of War. Do not allow anyone to. Boom. Then there were a slew of explosions nearby, followed by more boom. What occurred? Danzo inquired. My lord, we are under attack by Kumo, said a root agent next to him. Everyone looked up to see countless electricity currents flowing around the ceilings as they heard sizzling sounds above. Kurama, the Kumo forces will soon destroy the concrete above the root bunker. Get Black to a safe place, Gray said from above, observing cloud ninjas everywhere and releasing lightning chakra to destroy the earth and concrete above the root bunker. Grey Legion had already deployed Jackhammer Fuinjutsu, secretly assisting the Kumo forces in destroying the concrete faster. Kurama smiled as he observed panic and chaos in the root headquarters, while Danzo appeared calm, but the fox sensed that the elder was becoming concerned. You assassinated the entire Fire Capital Fire News Network staff, stole the Kumo crime evidence files, and framed them for this, because you want the hidden cloud village to fire the first shot, and you can have your wars. You claim it's for the good of the village, but you're hiding behind your refusal to help or fight this invasion. What a fucking hypocrite you are, Chickenhawk. Action has ramifications. You get what you sow. The last bunker gates were blown open, and cloud ninjas began to flood into the root headquarters, where they were trained primarily in assassination and espionage rather than direct confrontation and combat. Now, Danzo Shimura, I grant your wish, so you must personally deal with over 6,000 angry Kumo ninjas right here, right now. The fox stood by and watched as the vastly outnumbered root ninjas and fire royal guards were overwhelmed and slaughtered by Kumo ninjas. The cloud forces on the ground succeeded in destroying the 3 meters thick concrete protecting the bunker. Root members, Hyuga traditionalists, and fire royal guards were able to avoid the falling debris, but some fire court ministers and servants were crushed and killed instantly. When the rubble stopped falling, sunlight shone briefly inside the underground root bunker until hundreds of Kumo ninjas dropped into the hideout through the holes, bringing Konoha's darkness to light. Naoki Hyuga and other young traditionalists prepared their gentle fist stance as Karai and another Jonin named Nigai landed in front of them. Electroshock coils. Lightning release. The 2 Kumo Jonins struck the Hyugas with lightning bolts, paralyzing them. Take their heads, Karai said coldly to his subordinates, we will take their Byakugan from their heads later. No, Naoki. Hideo and the other Hyuga elders screamed and watched in horror as the enemy beheaded their helpless firstborns. So much for the caged bird seal protecting the Hyuga clan's secret and superiority, Kurama remarked as he watched the massacre through black. The kid had said it before. Every Hyuga should have the seal equally to protect their Byakugan secrets, Kurama added. Well, too late. More and more Kumo ninjas landed and began killing everyone they met, including root operatives, fire royal guards, and even unarmed fire court ministers and servants. Some cloud ninjas were killed, but they were tenacious and continued to arrive from the gates and the ground above. Oh no, oh no, oh no, the Fire Crown Prince was panicking. He had served in the Third Ninja World War, but had never experienced combat until now, and seeing his guards, ministers, and servants slaughtered scared the crap out of him, and there were some wet spots on his silk pants. The exit was full of enemy, and there was nowhere to escape. When someone tugged on his arm, the prince turned around to see it was Danzo. "Stay with me, Your Grace," the Konoha elder said, his most important political asset being the future daimyo. 300 loyal root ninjas quickly formed a circle around their master. "Ninja Kumo!" Danzo yelled, grabbing their attention. "It's you, Danzo Shimura, Shinobi's Darkness." Darui, Karai, and Nigai looked at the Konoha elder with murderous eyes, saying, "I'm going to kill you." The root leader remained silent and pointed his left hand at Masashi, saying, "He is Fire Crown Prince Masashi Madako." The Kumo Jonins looked at the Crown Prince. "So he is associated with the Shimura, that's probably how he survived the attack in the arena." "Yes. My name is Fire Crown Prince Masashi Madako, the next fire daimyo," Masashi stated confidently. "Lay down your arms and surrender now, our fire country will declare war on your country." Darui, Karai, and Nigai, as well as their subordinates nearby, all seemed unconcerned by his words. "Are you a moron?" Darui inquired, casually placing his large cleaver sword on his right shoulder. "We are already at war. My country, like your dead Raikage, will destroy you, including your village and loved ones." The mention of their slain leader infuriated the Kumo ninjas even more, and their rage reached new heights. "Oh, yes? The Combine and Kumo outnumber you in this village now, and we already killed your old man the Fire Daimyo, so does it matter if we also kill the Fire Crown Prince?" Nigai responded, reeking of more killing intent. Masashi Madako paled as his threat failed. He lost his bladder and his pants were soaked in piss, which the root ninjas next to him smelled but did not react to. "I don't care who you are in the world, Masashi Madako," Karai declared, "you all are fucking dead men." Indeed, Kurama agreed, chuckling, "This is the beginning of the end for all of you assholes, Danzo Shimura, Masashi Madako, Hideo Hyuga."
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.